And I see they're all sitting in one row. They did a great job. So the first one we have is Denise Eddy, who is a former K-8 school member. Then next we have Megan Sanko, who's a special ed coordinator with Neshoba Regional, and Erin Tragaferi, who is a former Northborough K-8 school committee member. So I'd like to start first with Denise, if you have anything that you'd like to add, and welcome aboard.
This is my third school committee. When I lived in Ashland, I served there for 15 years, and then went K-8 Southborough, and now I've graduated to high school.
Yes. Congratulations, we did get you a diploma and a cap and gown. Megan, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and to be able to serve the community in this way. I've been a resident in Northborough for 11 years. I've been in education for 17 years, and the past 4 years have been as a building administrator and now special education coordinator. And I am excited at the opportunity to hopefully bring some of that expertise to the community.
Welcome. Erin?
Hi, I'm Erin and happy to be back. I grew up in Northborough and now have 2 girls in the Northborough school system. So happy to be on regional, and I did serve on K-8 previously.
Welcome aboard. I'm sure all your expertise and knowledge will be very helpful to all of us on the board and working with the principal and the teachers and people in the audience that are always here. Thank you very much. The next item that we have on our agenda is election of officers. And we follow the policy. 4, 2006, 2017. So you may ask, well, then why am I having the gavel? Well, I happen to be the longest serving member. So whoever is in that, the chairman pro tem. So I had the honor of working with Jen and working on the agenda for this meeting, passed it over to Jen to get her suggestions also on it, and working with Greg. So I have this chair for about 5 minutes. The rotation, first thing that we have to do, and I checked with the Northborough members, is because we're a regional school committee, the rotation of the chairmanship goes between Northborough and Southborough, and we alternate the years. I did take a poll of the Northborough members, and they did want to take the chairpersonship for this year in the vice chair and the secretary. So I'd like to thank the Southborough members, Jen, who was the chair last year and led us through a great year, and thank her very much for her leadership because she did a fantastic job, and also the vice chair and the secretary. So my job now is to take any nomination from any eligible member from Northborough's election to chair. Nominations do not require seconds, but must be accepted by the nominee. If a nominee is not present, he or she must have volunteered to the chair pro tem in advance to serve as chair. But seeing that we have all five Northborough members here, we're all available. So at this time, I'd like to take nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Joan Frank.
Oh, thank you very much. I do accept. Thank you very much. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Joan Frank as chairman of school committee, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? Abstaining?
I'm sorry, we're supposed to vote too?
Yes, Southborough votes too.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
You
in
want-
favor.
Okay, I'll do it again then. Okay.
Everything was Northborough for a minute ago.
Now we're going to
Right.
become joint. So all the members that are here tonight to vote for Joan Frank as chairman of the regional school committee, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. I'd like to take nominations for vice chair. I'd like to nominate Chris Lucassi. Chris, do you accept?
I do.
Any other nominations? Seeing they're closed, all those in favor is Chris as vice chair. Now we have nominations of secretary. That's a really important one. And if we go into executive session, that is the person who would be taking, unless Becky wants to gladly do it, take the minutes. And sometimes there are some documents that come across through the superintendent's office that have to have the secretary's signature. It's a legal document, I believe, several of them, right?
Yeah, it's generally when we're issuing bonds.
The
Okay.
secretary is signing those documents.
So that's an important signature. So nominations for secretary. I nominate Kathleen Highland. Kathleen?
I have a good signature.
Okay. Practice that. You're John Hancock, real big. Any other nominations for secretary? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. So we have our board, and the next thing is we have special recognition. This is an honor to do this one, Madison Wilson. You have been our student rep, and you'll be graduating June 6th, and I believe you're going to,
Salve Regina University.
and your major?
Literature.
Literature. And I like to say, I think you have elevated the presentations as a student rep. What you have done, your enthusiasm, it makes me want to say, why didn't we do that when I was in high school? Can I come in and watch some of these things? Even the displays that you did on there, the visuals were just fantastic. And just the way that you showed leadership by going out to all your classmates and getting their suggestions and coming back with some ideas, and some, all of them were really fantastic. And you took over some issues that were hard to do, but you took them on, and you did it with great intellect and a great ability to bring everybody together to come with a consensus statement. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Madison, the feedback that we've received from your presentations is, why can't Principal Bevins be more like that? So we have some work to do with Principal Bevins.
To be fair,
You
that
set the
feedback
bar
came
high.
from me about myself. I'm aware, I'm
It's a
self-aware.
self-reflection.
Yes, yes.
And if you're ever bored on a Wednesday, the third Wednesday of every month, tune in and give us they're still improving upon what you left us in your footsteps. So thank you. You will have definitely left an intelligible mark here at Algonquin. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Maddie, you've been such a great kid to work with, and whenever I'd see you show up on my calendar, knowing that we would be going through your presentation, you always came prepared, and the messages that you were prepared to share with the community were really well thought out. They were important to kids, but then you also would indicate, you would celebrate other things like kids' accomplishments, club, highlighting clubs each time, which was not something we did with routine. So I think you've really set a high bar for the rest of the students who will occupy that seat in the future. So I wish you good luck in the future, and this is a gift from the school committee to you. I don't think you have to open it now, but best of luck at Salve Regina.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear back from you about all your successes.
Yes, I'll share back.
And do any other board members have any comments? Okay, thank you. Please come back and visit, and good luck in your freshman year. You're going to love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next we have on our agenda, we're just going to up something. We were going to go to audience sharing, and I'll turn it over to Greg at this time.
Sure, and I'll turn it over to Sean. We have a very special presentation this evening from the Algonquin Robotics team.
Sure, we have a really wonderful robotics program that I think you're aware that we have, many schools have, but they don't get a chance to really show off the culmination of their work, which is a literal robot, and whenever you get a chance to see a robot in action, you take it. So the team has come out tonight to show us how their robot performs, and they're going to tell a little bit about the club and what the robot's designed to do. So
I thought we could gather
yeah, that would be a good idea.
around
The pitch.
So the head coach is Dan Strickland. He's right here, an Algonquin, former Algonquin educator, but now oversees the club. So he's going to tell us about the robot and the team.
So I'm Dan Strickland. I'm the advisor of the club. Robotics Club is a little bit unique. It's for the clubs at Algonquin because we rely on a lot of adult mentors to help out, because I alone cannot run a team of 60 students, so we have several adults. I have two of those adults with me tonight, Jason and Manisha. I'm going to actually hand this over to Jason, and he's going to basically do the presentation.
So I'm going to do a teeny little piece of presentation. My name is Jason Damaris. I'm an Algonquin alumni from the class of 2012, and now one of the lead mentors of the team. So I was one of these kids, 20-something years ago. I also wanted to introduce Manisha.
Hi, Manisha Rajang up to class of 2015. Just like him, I was here a little while ago. Not to say that word. But the more important thing is we came back. This program really changed our lives, and we wanted to be able to give that forward to the next generation. So we'll let them.
We're now both working adults, but we had a really great year mentoring these kids, and it's always a pleasure. I do want to hand it over to them to let them tell you a little bit about the years. Thank you for all the support you guys have given us over the year. So I'd like to introduce Oliver, Caitlin, Tarini, Clark, Oxage, Zara, and Calvin. They'll take it from here.
Each season, we analyze a new FRC game and come up with a strategy to figure out what the best way to play the game is. Working from that strategy, we prototype and test various mechanisms and iterate on them to build our final competition robot. Our robots are fully designed by students using professional CAD softwares, as well as fully manufactured, assembled, and programmed by students here of Team 1100.
Yeah, so this robot here, and shown in the picture, is the result of all of our team's hard work. So that robot's on the field of our Western New England event, scoring the fuel into the hub, which was the goal of this year's game. Overall, we had a very successful competition season because we qualified for the New England District Championship as well as the Massachusetts State Championship, which we're attending next weekend. Additionally, we were awarded the Judges Award at our WPI event, which we were awarded for impressing the judges through all aspects of our team.
In my 3 years on the team, we've grown substantially, going from around 20 students my freshman year to almost 60. And through this journey, we have learned and adapted from our past experiences by reflecting on our events and robots through post-mortem activities. And we have also developed a pipeline that introduces robotics in our district at a younger age by hosting and mentoring LEGO robotics teams and various other programs for our newer members here at Algonquin. And all of these efforts earned us the Sustainability Award at our competition at Western New England University.
So in our local community, we strive to inspire the generations that are around us. So yearly we go to Applefest and Summer Nights, and we've gone to Applefest for 16 years now, and Summer Nights for 12 years now. And at each event, we have over like 1,000 people at each event, like interact with our demonstrations. Additionally, our presence is also known in the school. As you can see at like football games, we have our t-shirt cannons, and at athletics, we also have our t-shirt cannons. And then at Carnival, which is actually happening this Friday, we have a 3D printed keychain service. So we introduce the student body to CAD techniques that we use when we build our robots.
In addition to robotics, we believe it's important to give back to the community. We serve many communities within our town and the larger Massachusetts area. Our FLL qualifier for students in grades 4 through 8 has been the biggest in Massachusetts for the past 2 years. Over 50 teams travel across Massachusetts to Algonquin to attend our event. We host an event for Girl Scouts to teach the basics of how to build a robot, which inspires girls in STEAM. Additionally, we also participate in a Girl Scout event at WPI with the Girl Scouts from all over Massachusetts, where we demo robots and run a hands-on workshop where Scouts get to build a cat robot they can take home.
This past year has been a season of outreach, growth, triumph, and happy memories. Every competition we go to leaves the members of our team with unforgettable experiences. Thank you for all your support and helping us have an amazing season. We would like to present Principal Bevan with a game piece for this year, signed by all the members of our team. And if you have a few more minutes, we would love to show you our robot in action.
Yeah,
Initially, we start by inserting the roll back. Now, if you look at the attached to it is what we call an April
can immerse and compensate for that, all using this vision system. And then right into it. So when they're competing on the floor, there's a much bigger area. There's actually 3 robots versus 3 robots. There's not just one robot alone. So there's robots playing defense, playing offense. But this was an amazing year. Again, so now we said, the camera is finding the target in the middle of the street and scoring. This target was much smaller than the one that we actually had to shoot for at the competition. It was actually 4 feet by 4 feet. So they had to make some quick changes to adapt to shooting this particular smaller target. Also, again, there was 400 balls all around the floor they had to pick up. So there was a lot of bumping into each other and trying to do it. One of the biggest things this year was to try to keep the robot still working. So many robots were broken at times, but this intake that they designed is designed to collapse when you smash into someone, or it's actually, it jiggles around a little bit, but that's actually by design, because if it's rigid, it would break off. So the students had to, again, work tirelessly in coming up with different designs, testing, but it really came out really neat. It's really beautiful. So we can throw some more balls. Does anyone have any questions for the students? Or? Yeah, well, so everyone gets competition at the same time. So we compete against other high schools all around New England. So Shrewsbury and Westborough, they all have teams. They're all trying to build the same thing. We work for 8 weeks before our competition to build the robot. So really 8 weeks, not a lot of time. But they had to come up with from scratch because really we started from last year. They have rules about how much you can use from previous years. So we have to come up with a design as Oliver said, analyze the game. How many hours? Including 6 weeks. We're here 5 days a week at least. The students are working at home, online. So a lot of hours designing.
Designing, what, you just have to know what the students have to work with. Is there anything? What did you start out with?
What did you get? Okay, so at the start of the season, the company that does the robotics competition first releases a game manual with all the rules and regulations, and that's basically all we have to work with. And so from there, we do, like Oliver said, we brainstorm and analyze the game, think about the strategy we want to build our robot to do, and then we prototype, design, program, and we end up with a finished robot.
What you can use and also money-wise? Do they say you can't use more than $100 worth of materials, anything like that?
It's a little like Formula One, where there are teams that can fundraise a lot more money than others, and that can be seen to a certain degree of how shiny the robot looks or how advanced certain components are. You have a wide variety, and that's kind of part of the game, though, is they don't want every team to have millions of dollars to be able to build a robot. They want you to work with any team that comes onto the field, and that's part of the game too. Is Dan mentioned that it's 3-on-3. Your schedule is randomized, so you could be with a team, like let's say for example, we're with Westborough for our first match, but we could be against them later on in the competition during the qualifying part of the tournament. So the whole thing is cooperation. They want you to cooperate in the middle of a sure there are competitive advantages, you know, based on what resources you have. But at the end of the day, that's not what wins you the competitions every time. Like, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, because I remember, I forget what they did in middle school, and they would do competitions, but they had a set products that they could use, set number of dollars, and you couldn't go over that. So you get all your money from fundraising, correct? On this?
Yep.
Okay, so that cooperation, does that mean that if you're going against Westboro and one of your part breaks, can Westboro come over and help you?
Absolutely.
That's what they want you to
It's
do.
part of the culture to help each
Perfect.
other. Like, it's not, this year in particular was very rough on the robots. Everyone was constantly, so everyone's in the same boat of, we're all experiencing physics. We're all having broken intakes, broken shooters, all that stuff. People bring their 3D printers to the competition. There are some rules about you can't go home and produce at night, but the amount of printers that are running, the amount of spare parts people bring to competitions, it's all, people are planning for broken pieces, and especially if they want to be able to help others.
There's a machine shop at the competitions as
There's
well.
a machine shop?
Yeah, there's, you can build parts, because, again, this year was named Rebuilt, because a lot of teams were rebuilding their robots during the event, but yeah, so there is opportunities while you're, you know, in between the matches to fix your robots and put them back together again. But yeah, as far as the limits, I mean, there's a height limit, there's a weight limit, there's those type of constraints that the teams have to work on. They all have the same battery, so they're all using the same control system and very similar motors. So that's, you know, the only thing that everyone in common. But as far as the design, what you actually make it do, that's all up to the students, just all up to trying to analyze what you think as a team is the best way to accomplish the task, which again this year was to pick up as many of these yellow balls, because there was 400 balls on the field, and again you could pick up as many as you want and try to shoot them as fast as you could. It was pretty fun to watch.
That's great. I was thinking of Odyssey Le Mans. They used
Okay.
to, they used to do them in the school, but they would limit you on what you could do. You had a problem, you had to solve it, but you can only use certain things and go to Le Mans. Okay. Thank you. Very interesting.
I mean, there used to be that, but it becomes very difficult to enforce and stuff like that. As they wanted to have, because you have to have, you know, trade off the creativity to, you know, and trying to enforce it. So right now, it's pretty, again, other than the few constraints of weight and height, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for, you know, for creativity, and the students can do a lot of different things. And again, with, as we mentioned, 3D printers and CNC machines, the abilities, and again, in high school, we never could have built this in high school. This is college level, and then also the software that they're doing. And there's 4 cameras on this robot that can see where it is on the field and determine
Can you
where.
point out the cameras?
What's that?
Where are the cameras?
Oh, there, yeah, yes.
So,
Actually, no, well, I'm spinning around, but.
So there's one camera on the turret itself, the part that actually shoots. There's 2 cameras at these 2 corners, and there's one other camera right there mounted below that flip.
So they're, you know, we all talk about AI, and everyone said they're using, you know, actually Calvin should talk about it more than anyone, because, you know, but as far as the software that you're using to figure out where it is.
Yeah, so you mentioned AI. This is actually one of the few computer vision applications that doesn't really take advantage of AI. It's a special algorithm. Like I said, they're called April tags. I think this was made at University of Michigan a while ago. Basically, there's a whole bunch of these tags all around the field. Every single one of them is unique, and there's no way to look at it from a different angle and get it confused with a separate tag. So you can look at it and then say, oh, the corners of it are here. So then, like, you know, it looks like this, and I can say that means I'm this far away. And then that's how we do all of our positioning on the robot.
The students are also doing some cool stuff off the field in addition to the robot to help the robot performance. So they do scouting. And I have our strategy lead here. Can you talk about what we do? So we've been teaching the students how to collect quantitative and qualitative data and how to actually process that into match strategy. So Oksana being our director and Zara being our strategy
So before every match, we meet up with our alliance partners and we analyze their strengths and their weaknesses based off of the data that we collect. And using that, we make our strategy for the match to optimize the paths we take around each other, or the locations we want to score. So that way we're collaborating and collaborating with our alliance partners in a way that lets us win the match.
You have a tablet where you will figure out in the beginning of a match where does everyone line up and what do their auto paths look like. So in the beginning of a match, the robot operates by itself. So they have to talk about to make sure, okay, we're going to go, like a hook route. We're going to go left this way on this side of the field. What are you going to do? And that's just the beginning part. When things are on the fly, when the humans take control of the robots during the match, there's a lot of different ways that it's like, okay, we see an opportunity to play defense, let's take that. And so Zara has this amazing dashboard that she's built to process all of the data, which helps us when we go into the playoff tournament, where you actually get to pick your partners, and they stay with you for the rest of the tournament as you advance into the final stages of the matches. So they're doing a lot, doing data analysis.
We just wanted to, again, thank you for letting us present tonight, because we just want to also show you and highlight there's a lot more going on than robots. Everyone hears the word robots. Building a robot is probably like a quarter, not even, of what the team does and what the students actually get out of the program too. Is it's not just the technology of this. It's working together with students and working together with adults and presenting and all this kind of fun stuff.
So just congratulations on a very successful season.
Again, thank you.
Every year we hear about the great successes, and I agree. I think it's much more than just building a robot. It's working as a team, problem solving, collaborating, communicating, and your presentation tonight really showed that in display. Also want to thank our volunteers who give up their time and energy, so greatly appreciated. So thank you, and Dan, thank you. You've been involved in robotics teams for years.
Yeah, well actually next year will be our 25th year too.
So thank you for all you've done, and I wish the team well. You have one more event, so good luck. We're looking forward to hearing how it goes. And again, thank you for all you've done, and we're very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Now we're going to move on to the handbook.
Yeah. Sorry. Stick around. Thank you, guys. That was really great. Thank you. That was great.
I do. It's on my car too.
Oh, that's great.
Do they ever go down to the middle schools?
They do.
They do? Okay. All right, we ready to continue on the agenda? Okay, thank you. The next part of our agenda is audience sharing. And the rules for our audience sharing is that anybody in the audience can come and address the school committee. We have a limit of 3 minutes on any comments or remarks you have. And we take that in with the superintendent. We never go back and forth with any debate or any talk. This is our listening portion to hear the concerns of audience members. So is there any audience member that would like to speak? Yes. Come forward, please. We'll put you with a microphone, and if you could mention your name and your address, that would be very helpful.
Sure.
You have to use the mic.
Yeah, just stand close to the table. Andrew, yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
come stand by Maddie.
That's fine.
I'm Andrea Campbell. I live at 284 Whitney Street. Both of my children are in Algonquin. I am an employee at Algonquin in the cafeteria. And some questions and concerns that we have, I'm speaking for my coworkers, is with the food company that we have, Whitsons. We have kind of felt like we've been misled with
the company coming in, we were told it would be a 1-year contract, and now automatically it's a 3-year contract. Wondering how things were looked at to have them come back in or have it extended or however it is. You know, we haven't really had anybody besides Keith come through, like looking at how things are going, looking at our numbers, looking at our book. Our numbers have dropped on what we serve for lunches. The beginning of the school year, we started at 1,000, and now it's between 700-800. We've had, you know, kind of ups and downs. The morale with coworkers is down tremendously because we feel like our voices aren't really being heard. Yeah, that's kind of how we're at. And it's kind of tough when we want to give a good product to the students, make them feel full for the rest of the day, and, you know, not getting supported. You know, we used to have Algonquin cookies that we would make fresh from scratch, and that was nixed, saying, you know, because too much sugar or butter or something, which, okay, understandable. But then they go in and bring a freezer pre-shaped cookie that 3/4 of the ingredients are, you can't pronounce them, so a lot of preservatives. And then like at the bottom, there's like whole wheat, oil, and eggs. It tastes like a freezer, they're flat, and they're charging more than what we used to charge for our cookies. And I just feel like we're not able to give the best to the kids. So kind of our concerns to see, you know, how things were evaluated, why, you know, we're told one thing and everything's completely different. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other audience sharing members? Okay, this time I'll close out the audience sharing, and the next is action of the minutes of the open meeting minutes of April the 15th, 2026. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
So moved by Chris, second?
Second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor? Okay. And opposed? Abstaining. Okay, passes. The next one, we have educational policy, approval of international out-of-country field trip to Spain, April the 17th to the 24th of 2027.
So I'll just give some context. So last June, the school committee approved a policy, I-85, which was international out-of-country field trips policy. So prior to this policy, there was no mechanism for people who are interested in international travel to propose trips. So this policy allowed that, and as we hoped, it generated interest in creating international travel experiences for our students. So this is actually the first time that the policy is actually being implemented and tested. And we have a presentation from a few of our Algonquin educators who are proposing a international trip for this upcoming spring. So I'll turn it over to Evan Greenwald.
Yeah, so I'd like to introduce Evan Greenwald, who's one of our world language teachers, and so he's put a lot of effort into creating a trip. He's been speaking with me for about 6 months about this trip design, and so he's happy to share, but would he even be happier if we could get his slides up, as would I. So let me get that up. There we go. Sure, yes, if you want to hand out materials, yes. If you hit stop on,
Stop.
yeah.
Either?
Let's try, yeah, try one of them. And then the other.
Thanks.
And we do have a copy of your presentation too, Evan, so if all else fails.
Thank you, Stephanie, to the rest of you. Okay, here we go.
All right. Thank you for having me speak today. My name's Evan Greenwald. This is my 8th year. Next year will be my 9th year at Algonquin as a teacher. I graduated here in 2014 and started here right after graduation. And, one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this and I think it's important for students is because my experience with the same company at this, when I was a junior, impacted me and really it contributed to my wanting to be a Spanish teacher. And also our new standards, exploring the need for connections outside of the classroom and for world language, that often means experiencing a new culture. So the proposal I have is through EF Tours, which I'll explain more in a second, but it's called Exploring UNESCO Sites and Cultural Traditions in Spain. And it would be April 17th to April 24th of next spring. These are some of the places that the proposed itinerary touches upon: Madrid, Segovia, Toledo, for example. But what's interesting about this is that this is a newer trip they offer that combines history really well. So I have a chaperone, such co-lead, Brittany Burns, the department head for history, helping me with this, and we think that we would get a lot of draw from both those interested in history and those interested in Spanish alike. So here's what EF, the tour company, gives as a basic overview, which would start in Madrid and then go through Madrid, artistic spots such as all the museums, looking at the contemporary part of Madrid, and then we would make our way over to Segovia, which touches upon medieval landmarks and Gothic structures, and then to Salamanca to see the University of Salamanca, see the Renaissance impact and the impact of architecture and knowledge. The University of Salamanca is one of the oldest universities, which is really cool. And then we would go to Mérida, also famous for its Roman history, and also looking at archaeological treasures, which could also interest those in perhaps a Latin class or other sciences. So as an overview, the proposal is 8 days in Spain, 5 cities, all UNESCO connected, and the chaperone to student ratio for the tour company is 1:6. I know the policy for the district is 1:8, but we would have to follow the 1 through 6 for EF tours. So it would be, no, we're good. So EF Education First is 60 years old. I know that it is one of the most used educational tours in Massachusetts. Actually, they're out of Cambridge. And this is something that I'm familiar with. I'm on the board for the World Language Association of Massachusetts, and it's something that other districts use and have had success with. So for that reason, and also our historical connection with them, we've used them before. So what is included in the trip would be the round trip airfare from Boston, hotels with private bathrooms, students get breakfast and dinner, they get all of the fees to museums, guided tours, gratuities. Our EF tour director is always with us, and it also gives them travel insurance, and what EF program has, a peace of mind, which is a cancellation policy. In addition to this, I've worked with Lindsay, my contact at EF, and went over the most recent proposed policy, I-185, I believe, to make sure it is aligned with that. So their liability insurance is in the packet I presented to you, and they offer 24/7 support throughout the whole trip. The district background will check for chaperones, but EF also runs its own background for its staff, but also for those who are going to be chaperones on the trip. And then everything that's used to move around is licensed, insured, buses, no vans or private cars. So the dates proposed are 17th to the 24th of April, which is a flexible window according to EF because of flight scheduling, so it might shift one day. And it would just be an early departure from Logan overnight to Madrid, and then return midday to Logan on the 24th or 25th, given the shift. EF shares the final departure details, like number of flight and all of that, 70 days before the departure. And we made sure that the travel times were in compliance with the policy, both with the overnight student field trip policy, J300, and the newer one for international trips. This is a day-by-day itinerary. On page, actually, on page 36, I think I got cut off by the copier. There is an overview, an itinerary guide that gives all the details really, including what's the total travel time. So this will be, it got cut off by the copier, but it says page 36 of 66. And that's an example of an itinerary that would be used, which would start at Madrid, use the Madrid city to get oriented in the museums, and then head over to Segovia and Salamanca to visit the UNESCO sites there, and then Salamanca to Mérida to look at Roman heritage, and then in Mérida, which I think is very cool, we would visit a family farm and learn about the sustainability of agriculture in that region, and then end with Toledo, which is a layered history amongst various cultures, and then return flight back to Boston. So that's a very broken down version, but on page 36, there's exactly what is given in each stop and the time, total travel time, which is important. So from the perspective of the district portrait of a graduate, we looked at this and it aligns perfectly in terms of fostering critical and creative thinkers, navigating real-world questions, real-world situations, other cultures in a context that's not Northborough or Southborough, Massachusetts. Communicators, which for students who take Spanish or learning Spanish can work with the Spanish in a real context and hopefully increase motivation and see, oh, that's what we did in Senor's class or so-and-so's class in real life. Collaborators in the sense that it would be a cohort together that would understand the itinerary, that would understand activities, and do reflection activities together. And then socially and civically engaged, reflecting on what it means to be a visitor, a guest in another country. In terms of the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks, a direct connection to world language from 2021 would be that all of the communicative modes are going to be exercised in something like this in terms of reading, listening, speaking, writing, I'm sure. And in part of that new curriculum is intercultural communication and connections, which often is hard to foster. And I think this is a great opportunity to hit those that their domain 3 is lifelong learners, and under that is connections, and it explains the need to have some connection with the Spanish-speaking community. Also from the history side, a lot of the content from World History 1 and 2, religious diffusion, Spanish Civil War, Inquisition relate directly to this, which I've outlined more specifically in the initial proposal you have. And then this trip would be open to all students. So Spanish enrollment's not required, and although those Spanish students would, the students in Spanish would have ample opportunities to practice Spanish, students who don't still meet the standards of a specific proficiency level in Spanish can come as well. The reason why I thought, since it's been such a while, to open it up to everyone, and then instead of limiting it to just those who are in Spanish class. So from the history standpoint, from the language standpoint and culture standpoint, to gauge interest. So the traveling circumstances, again, we'll go to Madrid from Boston, and all of the on-ground travel in Spain is through their motor coaches, their buses that they've vetted and that they use, and there will be no private automobiles, cars. Group check-in at Logan is around 3 hours prior, supervised by the chaperones and EF, the company's own personnel. And then the travel will be between midnight and 6 a.m., limited where feasible per the policy. So looking at the smooth travel policy, all the transportations are arranged through that company, and they do the pre-trip vetting of every provider before they are used with the student group. And the exact flight details, which I mentioned earlier, usually come 70 days before the departure with arrival times and confirmation. The chaperone, so EF, their policy is a 1-to-6 chaperone to student ratio. All the chaperones complete the Corey background. As I mentioned, the EF Tours runs its own background checks, and then a full chaperone list will be submitted to Sean Devon before departure. This is our proposed chaperone team, with me as the group leader, Brittany Burns from Social Studies, Alex Silva from English, and Michelle Shepard from Fine Arts, which also was purposeful in that we have different disciplinaries coming together, disciplines coming together to elevate that experience. And then based on, based on student enrollment, like if it blows up and there's a bunch of students, we would adjust and have to add more chaperones, but I have those on deck already. So safety and supervision, which is very important. There has to be a meeting for students and families prior to the departure in which we go over the expectations, and administration is there. The curfew and behavioral expectations are already set with the school admin, largely from the policy that is already established. And then all required medical, emergency, and permission forms are collected. EF has their own medical form, but also what we do here for overnight field trips in terms of medical forms. On the trip, all the hotels, they check every year and vet them. So they have controlled access, and they have 24/7 monitored front desk. We do nightly room checks, and I would be a fan of the tamper evident door tape used just in case to see if they left, for when their curfew starts and when they're supposed to be staying in the room. If anything goes awry, they have a team 24/7, and I have the full administrative list of our school, and the family is informed ahead of time and signed off on the idea that any violations can result in sending a student home at their expense, which was also outlined in international new policy. costs and fundraising. So my point person at EF gave this early enrollment price, which includes everything I mentioned before, transportation, all access to museums, zip lining in Toledo, everything like that. And then breakfast, dinner, guided tours, its own insurance. And then in terms of fundraising, they offer a lot of options, whether it's a payment plan. There are a bunch of scholarships that I can work with students to apply for them. They have an option of a personal page, which isn't setting a deadline or target for that student, but rather just like a GoFundMe if you want to help me out on my trip, but they're not expected to meet any a number for that. EF does bingo fundraisers where they give bingo boards and complete multiple of them for $500. And group fundraising, which I know is preferred per the policy, is something that we would look into, and EF would be happy to support, hands down. Yes, I'm sure there are a lot of questions.
Questions, I have a lot of questions. Questions from school committee members first.
Questions?
Erin?
Is there a minimum amount of kids you need to sign up in order to run the trip?
There's not.
There's not.
There's not.
And is there a maximum?
So,
Are you anticipating?
So the option is to combine with other schools or to not, and I've said, nope, we're all good with that. So it would be really as many as we can take. I anticipate 25, 20.
That's great.
Questions?
On the
Denise?
on the liability issue, Greg, will the district be an additional insured on the policy?
So EF is an independent organization. We would definitely speak with our legal counsel. The good news is legal counsel did draft our international travel policy, but we would vet any trip through our legal counsel.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I have several, all right. I'm familiar with the organization that is doing this, the EF Educational Tours. The hardest question I'm gonna ask is one of the hardest. I received a lot of brochures as a former educator to do certain trips like this. And if I was a chaperone or leader of it, and I got like 6 students to do it, my trip would be free.
Mm-hmm.
What is the circumstances with this?
Yeah, so I have to disclose that for the Massachusetts ethics. So I included that in terms of the last couple of pages of the big packet would be my disclosure of non-elected municipal employee of financial interest and disclosure by non-elected public employee of travel expenses, stating that I understand and there's nothing else. They just give us what's given to the students, and that's already presented to parents before time.
Okay. What is the student interest so far, since you're opening this to the whole population?
So I've been waiting for, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I do know that there's always asking of that, and even during parent-teacher conferences, asking of that. So, but and perhaps I'm biased for being a Spanish teacher, I do think there is a lot of interest in here, especially when Westborough and other schools are doing it, and I think it's something that they see as a good opportunity.
And I will add, we do hear this feedback from families to say other schools do international travel. Will Algonquin reinstate that? And I think this is a safe trip, and it will be very attractive to families for a lot of reasons. If they have a Spanish student, student in Spanish, or a student who's really interested in history, and that I think would already comprise a great deal of a lot of students who would be interested.
Is this taking place during April vacation? And if not, how many school days would these kids be missing?
It is taken during April vacation, but they will not be missing more than 3, which is outlined in accordance with policy.
Not missing more than 3?
So they will be at most missing 1.
Missing 1, okay.
Ideally, it can go Saturday to Saturday.
Okay. What about passports, visas, and if some families have like TSA pre? Are you gonna keep them all together? What if a student has a passport, they can do TS pre, they don't wanna wait in a line? Are they allowed to do that and then meet at a point when they get through the check? What is the status of that?
Students have to pass in their information 110 days before, and then we determine kind of what group they go to in terms if they do have TSA pre.
Okay. What is the case in case there is an insurance policy, medical insurance, in case someone gets sick? Like you have right now, you know, there is going to be a chaperone for every 6 students. What happens if a student gets sick and has to come back home in an emergency situation? Who comes back with that student? Because then would that take down your chaperone?
Who comes back with that student? That's a great question. I do not know who would come back with the student. I think that one of our chaperones would come back with the student, and I would imagine EF would give us an additional tour director.
Okay. Would the students have to check with their medical insurance to see if they're covered out of country?
Per the medical form from EF, I believe it is a line item on there that they fill out. Yes.
Okay. And will an EF employee be with them at all times?
Yes.
Okay. Cancellation policy. Let's say a family puts in, they're close to the 3,600 limit. The week before, they have a family member who passes away.
Yes, so their cancellation policy is outlined on page 28 of their whole breakdown, and it depends on how many days it's before departure. 300 days or more is a full refund, less than 95 non-refundable, so it would depend on the situation and how many days it is before.
Okay. Will you be having a parent meeting with the parents before they even sign on the dotted line to do this?
Yes.
A parent meeting?
Sorry. Yes, it's required from EF and from the international policy.
Okay. My last question is this. We did have a group of students that did go out of the country. We had a situation that was tragic, okay? A person passed away, and there was a lot of questions afterwards. This is what's giving me, I hate to say it, my angst, because I want to make sure that all these questions are asked ahead of time, and there is contingencies in there. If somebody gets sick, I want to know that there is going to be a person from Algonquin. If my child was over there, I would want a chaperone from Algonquin to be with my child.
Yeah.
I've been on a cruise where, and you're not on a cruise here, but someone got sick and a helicopter came down to take the family, and they're left on their own when they're in another country. So I just want to make sure that our students are taken care of and that we don't have any angst going forward, okay? And
Yeah,
I
no,
think we have to learn from past experiences, and I don't know how the administration can do that, but there was a lot of angst with the parents after these kids got home and coming to school committee meetings and that. And I hope that, you know, we always try to learn from past experiences, so I hope that we can have some measures with Greg and with Sean to make sure that the parents have all that information possible so they know in any contingency this is what's going to happen and who's going to be with the student. And the other thing, do the kids have free time? You talk about they have to be in their rooms. Can they go out on their own at any time, or are they with a chaperone 24/7?
Their free time is usually during lunch, where they can go and explore, but we've looked into what we use in the district, or at least Algonquin Parent Square, which would create a group that has records of communications and accessible in other countries.
Okay. Are you looking for approval of this tonight, or can you wait another school committee meeting to get some questions answered?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the will of the committee. If the
Right.
committee feels ready to support the trip, or you have more questions.
I have a question.
Okay, Jen?
I was just wondering about cost. So is this a set cost? Because as potentially fuel, like travel cost increase, is that a potential that would be a lot more than what's stated in here? And then related to that, I guess a question for the district. Is there, so I know you mentioned scholarships and working with students to like fundraise. Will the school do anything to help supplement, potentially allow, because that is a fair amount of money for people to pay. So I'm just wondering what kind of supports we would have for students that come from the school as opposed to this organization.
Yeah, I mean, at first I think we'd work closely with Evan and Brittany Burns around supporting our students to make it affordable. One of the concerns around having a trip such as this is having costs as a barrier. So whatever we can do to make sure that cost is not a barrier for a student to participate in this trip is important to us. And I think there are many ways we can support that other than what was listed just from EF Tour. So that would be something we would work on. We do a great job raising money, fundraising for a lot of different trips and experiences for students, so this would be no different.
Thank you. And I just to end, I think this is fantastic. I'm actually a really big supporter of like international travel and just the opportunities that they can get through that. So as long as we support students who need the extra financial help, I think I'm already thinking like I would sign my daughter up for this in a heartbeat, you know. I think it's great.
I'd just like to add, I've organized and done trips through EF Tours and had good experiences, and they are, if they're not the gold standard, I'm not familiar with another tour company that works with schools that's superior, so I think we're dealing with probably the best and longest lasting organization that does this kind of work, and the two teachers, the lead teachers, which is Senior Greenwald and Ms. Burns, are just really, I have a great deal of trust in their judgment and their leadership, and this kind of organization that you saw tonight in this presentation is, I think, emblematic of the kind of organization they would put into organizing the trip. So it has my interest.
I don't know, if we're looking to make a vote, is it possible to do a vote that would offer confirmation that the school committee is supportive of the trip, subject to some follow-up on the questions that we have here, subject to review of the contract, as you said, the lawyer's gonna look at it, and if we come back in, which would allow you to gain interest from the students, so we know what we're dealing with, and then we approve it more formally once we understand if this is a real thing or not, which seems like it probably would be, given, you know, the thing. I support it also, so that would be my thought.
Yeah, so I think obviously it's the will of the committee of you know, decision to vote tonight or not, or wait. I will share that a lot of thought went into developing the policy. We did think about prior experiences, and that was many conversations over many years around making sure we have a policy that accounts for you know, the experience we had in the early 2000s with the international trip. I would share that Evan and Brittany have done an excellent job reading the policy and outlining the expectations of the policy and mirroring a trip that meets all of those. So thank you for that, Evan. And the other piece that I think is really important is that this is not a trip for just students who take a world language course. That this is truly an interdisciplinary experience and open to all kids, which I applaud you, because that's not always the case. And the policy does speak to us partnering with a tour company, that we cannot develop these trips in isolation of having a backer like EF Tours with experience and knowledge and insurance and all of those logistics thought out. So thank you, Evan. I think in terms of the committee's decision, you know, could it wait till June 17th? Yes. Evan will just have to, you know, start the recruiting process a little bit later, I think.
Can I ask what the questions are that need to be answered? Because I guess that's the...
Yeah, I mean, I feel very comfortable that what has been presented meets all the criteria in the policy, in terms of insurance and protocols and safety and security, chaperone. So, from my perspective, providing more time with just making sure that you all feel comfortable approving the trip. But from my standpoint, information to the questions that you asked, I know that our attorneys have partnered with other districts with these types of trips, with EF tours. Again, our attorney basically wrote the policy. I don't think we would get any different feedback other than strong support in that we're meeting the requirements. But again, this is the first time we've done an international field trip sanctioned by the school and the school committee, so I understand that some people may want more time to think about what was presented.
Kathleen?
Pursuant to what Jen said, are we really just looking to confirm that if something horrendous happened, that an Algonquin representative returns in EF? Is that the only question pending?
I mean, they have a crisis team, as Evan stated, that, you know, they have crisis response. So if there's a death of a chaperone or a student or something tragic, they have plans and protocols in place.
We just don't know it all that, but we know.
Correct.
So are there any other questions that are lingering?
I guess I asked some really hard questions, okay? And I agree with Jen. I think that if you have the students go international travel, anywhere they go, their horizon is broader. So I support a trip. I still have the questions. And I guess as a parent, I mean, in here you have, and this is why I think maybe I'd have to, my personal thing is if you go to the certificate of liability insurance, it's inside. If I was a parent, I'd want to make sure that is there any other extra insurance that I could tag along to my insurance that I have that would give me extra coverage for my child in case my child has to come home or something like that. And if my child would have to come home, if there's a family tragedy, who would pay for that flight coming home? So I think it's just some of those little questions I have. I understand it's great, you put a lot of work into it, you have a lot of fabulous teachers that are supporting as chaperones. Stephanie, did you have an answer to my question?
I was just gonna say that they, I'm sure, could answer those questions about the insurance, but a family could also buy through companies like Travel Guard and other independent companies. You can buy cancel for any reason insurance for these types of trips, and they include additional coverage around evacuation and things like that, and there are all different types of those. Like when you asked if you had a death in the family and you wanted to cancel at the end, Travel Guard is one of several companies that a family could elect to do that with, that would extend and layer on top of anything that EF has.
So will that be offered to the parents?
Yes, so
we could easily share that information.
in addition to the general liability insurance, on page 19 of the big packet is the protection for individual travelers that they stays available to all travelers for global travel protection and global travel protection plus. It's on 19 of 66.
That's included with the.
Okay, and if I can share a personal anecdote. My nephew was on one of these trips and had appendicitis in France and was hospitalized and actually had to stay in France. And they did have a chaperone stay with him until my brother-in-law could get there to him, but the insurance picked up his entire cost.
They did.
And sent him back, flew him back.
Okay, and it was through this company? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Evan. Sorry for the hard questions.
No.
Yes.
I still would like to understand the liability of whether we should be an additional, as a district, an additional insured on their policy. You can check that out, Brent.
Good point. Thank you, Denise. Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the international out-of-country field trip to Spain, April the 17th to the 24th, 2027?
So moved.
So moved by Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kathleen. All those in favor? All those abstaining? And it passes unanimous. And I just thank you for answering my hard questions. And just a caveat, if Greg, you could, just Denise's question, if that can be answered.
And I think it would probably be nice in the fall to have Evan and Brittany come back and share the progress and of the planning.
That'd be great.
And the number of students who are interested. That'd be very helpful.
Okay, thank you. New business, legislative update.
So I did, in the superintendent's memo, provide a brief update. The Senate Ways and Means Committee did release its FY27 budget proposal. So it was a little less than what the House had released. So they are still in reconciliation. And so they're in conference committee, so we'll wait to hear more about where the budget lands. The governor's original proposal for per pupil minimum state aid was $75. So this is $160, so this is a significant increase. And then also the Senate included increased investments in special education circuit breaker, which is very important to us in terms of our overall cost for special education, regional transportation reimbursements, literacy initiatives, and mental health supports. So we are monitoring the budget landscape. We typically will not know what the final numbers are until the final budget is approved, and that usually is in July at some point. So we're also watching closely the legislation around cell phone bans in public schools. So Sean will speak to that during his principal's report, but it is something that Sean and the leadership team are looking closely at and being proactive and being ready if we have to implement a policy come this fall. And then I think there are many other updates provided, but those were the highlights, I believe.
Okay. On to the next agenda item, the Northborough Annual Town Meeting recap, which took place in April. As a member being there, I'd like to thank Greg and Becky. They were there for 2 nights, going over the capital projects, answering any questions in the budget, and I'd like to thank the voters of Northborough for passing all the warrant articles, and was also at the Southborough town meeting, so it's run a little bit differently. So I'd like to thank the voters also of Southborough for supporting our warrant articles and the budget. So that is the only thing I have to report back, if anybody else has from your town meetings.
I just would like to, also echo the appreciation to the people who did attend and approve the Northborough's assessment of the regional budget. And I'd also just like to thank Sean and the leadership team and educators and Becky and the financial team and the school committee for all the work leading up to the town meeting approval. As you know, and if you read in the newspapers, budgets in school systems are very difficult. And I feel like, although it was a very difficult process to get to approved budgets, as I hear stories from surrounding communities, I feel very fortunate that we do have communities that support and value education, and that is demonstrated by approving our school budget. So thank you to the school committee for your work and support along this journey.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the school committee members that serve on the capital plan and also on the operational, because you give a lot of hours to that behind the scenes and meetings that are not as visible as this one to get the budget across. And I forgot to mention Keith, for your presentation too. He got a roof passed in Northborough, so that was a big one for us. So thank you everybody for all your hard work, and boy, a couple months off and we'll be back again for the budget for next year. Anybody else have comments? Okay, the next one we have is the Applied Arts Department presentation.
Sure, so I'd like to introduce Mr. George Clark, who is the department head for the Applied Arts and Technology Department. I do want to just make mention that Mr. Clark is retiring at the end of this year after how many years? 30 years. And he's done a wonderful job leading the department for the last several years, and is just an outstanding educator and just an all-around wonderful human being. Really a great person to have in the building, and we'll miss him. Taking over for him is Ms. Christine Norman, who's here in the front row here. So she will has been named the department head for the next 2 years going forward and potentially farther. So Mr. Clark's going to give his swan song presentation here to update us on the department. So I can drive, or you can drive, however you like.
I guess it's a retrospective of 30 years.
Right? Yeah.
We're gonna start. So day one. So you guys know Algonquin is a great school, does so very many things for our students. And I think the Applied Arts and Technology Department is a big, important piece of what makes Algonquin unique. We do a lot of different things, and I thought it might be nice if you could just see some of the, or actually all of the members of the department in their natural settings. So, next slide, please. So, Chandler Berenger, a computer science teacher, Susan Muse in the middle reading Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. Works with the Early Childhood Education Program, and Christine Ferreira is a business teacher. Next, please. We have Nikki Rufo, who's a business teacher. John Cahill, business teacher, and Spisha Geiges, who's here tonight, is a nutrition culinary arts teacher. Kathy Griffin teaches business and computer science. Mary Beth Pappas is a business teacher, and Christine Norman is a business and computer science teacher. And then last is me. and so yeah, so just thought that'd be nice if you could see everyone. I had to put myself in there because no one else really wanted their photos taken, so I felt it was only fair. So we offer a wide variety of courses in the department, including business courses, and as you all know, microeconomics and finance, financial literacy, or AP economics are required for graduation. This is a little movie. I think you can go ahead and play it, Sean. So this is going to be the daily grind. These are students wheeling carts out. It's a little laggy. So this is a student-run business run by the entrepreneurship class, one of our business classes. And one of the focuses of the daily grind is a food and beverage cart. They sell food and beverages to teachers during the day. Once a month-ish, I'd say. They don't have a set schedule. But students in the class are, as running the business, are exposed to marketing, operations, finance, human resources, customer relations, all different aspects of running a business. And they have partnerships with Aero Coffee, Armino's Coffee, and Tugas Farm, where they get the items that they sell. In the last 3 years, they brought in over $6,000 in revenue, and all profits go directly back into the business and are used for, among other things, for the business, for faculty and staff appreciation in the Teacher Appreciation Week. Next slide, please. So we have a number of computer science offerings, including a couple AP offerings, which are always popular. And so here on the left, we see some students programming little robots to dance and play music. And on the right, these students wrote the code to create that graphic in computer science classes. So we also have family and computer science classes. Next slide, please. So the students on the left with the parachutes, the high school students are learning about large gross motor, and the preschool children are playing and learning to be cooperative. And on the right, we see some students put together an airplane as part of a guided play unit. Next slide. This is a typical day in a culinary arts class, nutrition culinary arts class on the left. On the right, these students are making ravioli, which is Italian. Let me just find my I should have Spisha come up and explain. So they were comparing the ravioli with pierogi, which is Polish, and bao buns, which are Chinese, and that's part of a cultural unit where they're learning that different cultures many times have similar foods. Tough word for it. All right, next please, Sean. So technology offerings, that's my area. And then next slide. So here's a student on the left that's showing off a strainer that he had designed and built, and the students on the right are heating and bending some steel in our metals room. Next slide, please. So we have several new classes. So we decided to offer new classes after many hours of study by people in our department, our school leadership team, and the postgraduate student success working group. And so we are offering the AP Business and Finance, which will be offered to 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students. Working with young children, where, so we already have a number of early childhood ed classes, but in this one, students will be learning about working with children in roles other than as a classroom teacher. And then the third offering is Evolution of Style through Fashion Technology, and the focus with that would be on designing and creating wearable pieces. Next, please.
You are.
Yes, yes. Okay, so the applied part is really, I think, where the rubber hits the road in our department, because so much of what we do in our classes, the students are actually getting real-world experiences. So some of you may be aware, we had a Burroughs Ballers event where sports and entertainment marketing class spent around 6 class periods planning a basketball game between our unified basketball team, coached by Mrs. Geiges, I should mention, since she's here, and the Southborough first responders. And so the class, sports and entertainment marketing class, created in-depth marketing plans, social media posts, made decisions on ticket prices, concessions, helped put together itineraries and programs, brainstormed fan engagement ideas, and developed professional sponsorship proposals to send to local businesses. And they ended up raising about $500 for the team and gave the students a real opportunity to plan an actual sporting event. Next, please. Sports and entertainment marketing class went to Gillette, but they didn't just go to get a little tour. They had been given case studies by, I believe it was the marketing team at Gillette, and they were presenting to the marketing team their ideas for about the case studies, including things like the Patriots Revolution, Patriot Place, Gillette concerts, etc. So very meaningful experience for these students presenting to not just any professionals, but Gillette, which for these cases is a really big deal.
And if I can add about
Yeah,
this
please.
trip alone, because I watched the teacher pull it together, this is not a trip Gillette offers to other high schools as like a package thing. We have a connection with Gillette that was fostered over time, and our teachers go and meet with their marketing department as a standalone arrangement between Algonquin Regional High School and Gillette staff. This is not like the kind of thing another high school can arrange. Well, potentially they could if they stole our idea, but like we are the only ones doing this because of the hard work of our teachers.
That's neat. I was actually unaware of that
Yeah,
piece.
no, it was nice to learn.
So nutrition, culinary arts class, baking and pastry class, the students are, yes, they're learning to prepare foods from scratch. They're also learning so much about the different ingredients and the cultures around the ingredients, and it's Mrs. Geiges does, since she's here, she does a terrific job for that class. This is Nikki Lupo's fashion retail class. They did a collaborative project with the library to celebrate Emily Dickinson's birthday, and they created these pieces completely with donated materials. Early childhood program, they run the Titan preschool, and so the high school students are learning about children and how to teach children, and the little children are going through a very organized preschool program where the high school students are teachers and they teach lessons, and it's just amazing to walk into that room and watch the high school kids swoop in to handle some issue of whatever's going on. You can imagine a room full of preschoolers, there's a lot of activity, and the high school children are amazing at handling that stuff. So I wanted to include this. I was walking down the hallway and saw this mural that the preschoolers had done, and I said to Susan Muse, oh, cute mural, or something like that. And she said, well, there's actually a lot behind it. And I said, like, what? And she explained, in creating the mural, and I'm going to read it, the students learn to communicate ideas, take turns, respect the perspectives of others. They learn foundational teamwork skills, including empathy and cooperation, and it's allowing the children to express themselves in a group setting, which boosts their sense of belonging while developing essential life skills. And all of that really makes sense when you think about it, but I didn't think about it. I just walked by and saw the colorful mural. So I just wanted to share that piece with you. And then next slide, please. So some of our technology engineering students worked with our facilities director, Mike Gorman, this year to remove some of the seats in the auditorium to create some handicapped seating. And in the other picture, some of these chairs here were being refinished by students in a wood tech class. These two students in my class were approached by Kim Honey, our librarian. One of the library cards said, I believe it was the Finn School, I don't want to misspeak. Yeah, the Finn Library was broken. These little pieces hold the wheels into the cart, and the piece was broken, and so these students modeled it in CAD software and 3D printed it, and ended up 3D printing several of them, which extended the life of a $500 library card. So that was pretty cool. Outside of the classroom, people in my department are involved in a wide variety of activities. Next, please. So we have our National Business Honor Society. We have our DECA group competing at a competition. Ms. Norman here is one of the DECA advisors. Mrs. Geiges speaking in Bulgaria to the Ministry of Education about unified sports programs. Unified sports programs in this country. Robotics team, you saw earlier, they hosted an event for, I think, 52 Lego robotics teams, and Unified basketball team was selling concessions at that event. And then last, Chris Ferreira and I are both retiring, so we thought it'd be fun to wave goodbye. And then we had a late addition. Mary Beth Pappas is retiring at the end of this year as well. So I think that what we do in the Applied Arts and Technology department is really pretty amazing. And we couldn't do it without what you do. So thank you all for your support. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen?
I have a statement, I guess, more than a question, but my first meeting on school committee was also when you presented a couple of years ago. But I immediately went home, talked to my family and friends about the amazing, I think you do a great job presenting the breadth of what we have. And I think we do, that's a key piece, right, is that we offer so many different opportunities to our students, and that's different than a lot of high schools in the area. So I wanted to thank you for that. My daughter has been talking about the sports marketing, I think, as a result of this, wanting to take this for a long time. And the other piece I just wanted to say too is again, more of a comment and a thank you, is that you had mentioned in the one of the last presentations I saw, this idea of that these particular course selections really are places sometimes where students can feel less stress and pressure, and that's absolutely what I've observed with my daughter too, is that these are the kinds of offerings that she comes home and she's excited about, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, and it's a time for her to be like, I can decompress a little bit in these selections. So I just wanted to say, I think everything that you've done that I've seen on my a couple years on regional has just been fantastic, and I look forward to what we continue to do. So it's not really a question, just a thank you for all the work that you all do in offering these great classes.
You're welcome. On behalf of the department, you're welcome.
Kathleen?
Yes, I love the presentation and the breadth. I think it's just fabulous, and I was really struck by the entrepreneurship classes. In the previous presentation for the school trip, the fundraising was noted to be like candle and fundraisers and those sort of typical things. And I'm wondering what the entrepreneurship classes would come up with, because these sort of, the bake sales, these very worn fundraising tools would really be marvelous to have them infused with what they think might be fun. Because I look at, and this is Paul Butka in my head, it was $200,000 to $250,000 a year for the athletic boosters that they fundraise. We all should be learning from them. And then it's $5,000 to $6,000 for the music department, last I knew, or the Parent Music Association. Half of that apparently went for uniforms, and then there was even less for the PTO. So we would all benefit from having that kind of real classroom experience also tied in with the social media to really recreate something that feels very worn to me as a parent and as a community member, those typical fundraising tools. And I'd love to see what the children come up with.
We have had some interesting fundraising things in our department that were done by multiple classes working together to support some groups. I'm thinking about the ornaments that was a marketing class designed, and they supported, who did they support, do you remember?
It was for teacher appreciation.
Oh, for Teacher Appreciation Week, thank you. Takes a team. I function best as a member of a team.
Any other questions or comments? Denise?
Just a comment, I want to congratulate you on a great career. You're an educator and a gentleman, and you've done well by this system. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
George, I'd just like to thank you. I think that when I look at this applied arts, there's more things than it. It's almost like even life skills. And everything that you're teaching, and even from the preschool kids all the way up to the high school, is just, you're teaching them so many things that they're going to encounter in their lives and touch them in such wonderful, enriching, and sweet ways. So thank you very much. Enjoy your retirement, and congratulations to our new head. Thank you very much.
The department is in really good hands. I just have to say that. We're big changes, moving ahead. I think the department's ready for it.
That's what makes success. Congratulations. Okay, next item that we have on our agenda is the 2026-2027 Algonquin Regional High School Student Handbook Update.
So this evening, we have Andy McGowan, who will preview the updates for the 26-27 school year.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and good to be back to share another exciting handbook update. So the typical stuff is at the top of your packet, which we go through every year, updating the dates, names, grammatical updates, and so forth, the school calendar, just putting all of the relevant information that is leading into the next school year in this. There were a couple things that went into the handbook at the end of last year after the combined school committee meeting, and that was a Title IX civil rights and bullying policy, and that was all included after that meeting, so this was presented prior to that for 25, 26, and that's in there and reflected for this year, but also, because I didn't mention it last year, it's also going into next year as well. And then some things that Sean had worked with this committee through earlier in the year with the competency determination, the class of 2030 graduation requirements. Both of those were approved by the committee in September and October. And then the language below, after that, is really the new material that we've put in. Some of it is district-wide, some of it is unique to our situation. The outside coursework and course waivers are both really clarity on some questions that have come up over the years, and just we wanted to provide language in our handbook to give parents that clarity and students that clarity on, you know, whether an outside course can count towards credits and that kind of thing, and what students can do to waive a course and anything like that. I don't know, Sean, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. I'll speak very briefly. We do once in a while, well, actually pretty routinely, several times a year, we get students who take experiences over the summer, and then they would like to be rewarded for credits for that. As you can imagine, it's very hard to do the quality control required to make sure that those courses count toward graduation. For most students, they have many more graduation credits than they need, so it doesn't even really solve the problem so much. And then truly it's an equity issue, so not every family can afford a summer experience that then could add credits to their child's experience. And also it's great if students just have a summer where they're not, you know, they're not necessarily having an academic experience. It's not the right and not always the best fit. So that language never existed, and we would get questions about why that could not happen. So that would address that. The course waiver language was very unforgiving for students who might need some flexibility in our graduation requirements. And when we enhanced the rigor and increased the rigor with our graduation requirements, we heard some concerns from families who said that their child might have, let's say, a language disability, a language-based disability, and that a requirement for world language, for example, would be very difficult for them to achieve. We didn't really have the flexibility named in the handbook to provide the latitude for a student like that to still meet the graduation requirements. So this language is a little bit more forgiving and will allow for a student in that situation to meet the graduation requirements just with a little bit greater latitude and flexibility.
The bus expectations, this is, and on the next page there, the bus audio and video recording. So that's a district-wide policy now that we've adapted, and the bus expectations were just to kind of provide some clarity on the expectations on the bus, which is essentially an extension of the school. And then in addition, on the second page there, the new security camera policy was put in place with our technology team at the district level, and just more or less an acknowledgement that surveillance is taking place when you're on school grounds, and we want to make sure parents, students are aware of that. I think many assume they are, but we wanted to have language that acknowledges that. And then the last one, curriculum requests from parents and guardians. This is language based on a recent court case that our legal counsel suggests that we put in here and include in our handbook so that we can, so that it represents the most recent legal decision in regard to curriculum requests coming in from parents and so forth. So those are the updates, important ones for each year and so forth. And if you have questions, I'm happy to field them.
Any questions or comments? Andy, I just had one. On the new policies, has legal counsel looked at those?
Legal counsel looks at it every year. They haven't looked at all these just yet. They haven't looked at all of them just yet, so that's going to them right after this.
After this, okay. All right, thank you.
And just to indicate, the new language that I proposed went through the Algonquin School Council and was approved.
Okay, thank you. Do we have to have a vote on this?
Yes, that would be helpful.
That would be helpful?
So the reason why, I'll just share that the reason why we brought forth the changes this evening was, in fact, if you needed more time to review the changes, that it could be voted at the June 17th meeting. but if voted tonight, if you feel comfortable, that would be the ideal situation for Algonquin.
So it would be up to the committee on how you'd like to vote. If you want to vote for it tonight, and maybe pending with approval from legal counsel, or we could wait until June. So consensus of the committee? Or someone wants to make a motion?
I'm fine with voting on it today.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve, sorry, I'm just pulling up the revisions to the student handbook as presented in the packet.
Second.
Second by Denise. All those in favor? And it passes unanimous. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
The next item that we have on our agenda is the Whitsons food service update. We have two things, recommendation and approval of contract.
And I'll turn it over to Keith.
Great. So thank you. Included in your packet are two documents, a memo and then a contract to continue with our service with Whitsons for an additional school year. And as you may know, this was the first year of our contract with Whitsons Culinary Group, and under DESI requirements, the school committee must vote annually to renew that contract with the option of up to 4 one-year renewals after that initial year. Last month, we discussed operational and programmatic progress, and we'll begin tonight by sharing some of the financial analysis that was done to finish out the first 3 quarters of the year. So through the first 3 quarters of the fiscal year 2026, which was through March of 2026, the program is showing a net loss of approximately $60,801. There are a few drivers behind that net loss. First, we transitioned to a new organizational model this year, which included a shared leadership across the 3 districts, adding a general manager, field manager, and dietitian, along with some other school-based staff. Second, we implemented a change requiring all food services employees to attend 4 professional development days. While many staff participated in the past, making this mandatory did increase cost. And thirdly, we experienced significant increases in the kitchen equipment expenses. This was related to replacing an ice machine, heated shelving units, heated display merchandisers, and electrical services that were required for those installations. On the revenue side, overall sales are generally in line with last year, but we are seeing a 10% increase in adult meals, a la carte sales, and catering. It is also important to note that food services programs typically run a deficit during the year, since state reimbursement is received at a later time. We are already seeing that gap becoming smaller as the year progresses. We've also been meeting regularly with the Whitsons team to monitor the financials, and will continue to do so through the final quarter of the school year. And most importantly, the contract includes a guaranteed return provision. And this was something we did discuss last year when we engaged in this, but the program, if the program does not achieve a surplus of $29,491, Whitsons is required to cover that difference for our financial position. So as we look ahead, our focus for the remainder of the year is really in hope of stabilizing some of the operations during this transition, reviewing survey feedback that we've received, finalizing a catering program which has been in the works, and filling some open positions that have been vacant. So as we finish the final quarter and look ahead, really want to focus on student participation, which has always been a goal, in increasing that. Expanding promotions, which has been something we've been talking about with Whitsons, incorporating more local purchasing, and continuing to improve with efficiency and staff morale. The transition has been difficult in a variety of different ways, and I do want to recognize that as we move forward into this transition, but also realize it was year 1 of this. And we really would like to look forward to a year 2 to continue with that improvement. So as part of the renewal, Whitsons has proposed a 3.9% increase tied to the Consumer Price Index. This is reflected in a modest adjustment for next year, which would mean that the administrative fee would be an increase from 5 cents to 5.2 cents per meal, and the management fee going from 11.6 cents to 12.1 cents per meal. So based on our review of both the financials and operations during this year of transition, we believe the program is moving in a positive direction, certainly with areas of improvement that are needed. And we do recommend that the school committee approve entering into a second year of the contract with Whitsons Culinary Group for the 26-27 school year. And so included in your packet is a draft of that contract, which is DESE regulated to engage with food services management companies. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Kathleen?
Kathleen?
So we have our own employees, and then they're coming in as well and creating supervision direction.
In
Is that
management, correct.
Management, okay. And of the 60,000 that we're down currently, when the state reimburses, how much are you anticipating from the state? Are we still accumulating beyond the 60,000? What's your best guess as to what the state is looking at and what our final numbers would be?
So that's our projection, is that it would be a $60,000 deficit in the program. There were a couple of things that really were the main drivers, as Keith said. The equipment, for example, in previous years, we did not have any equipment purchases that we've seen this year. We've seen a number of items go down. And so that makes up about $20,000. So about a third of that is based on the equipment. The staffing, we've also seen an increase based on the number of days, and we've made some adjustments to hours as well. So it's really a combination of the staffing and also the equipment that we're seeing.
So we're expecting that. And what does the staff turnover, if there's been any, from either our staff or theirs look like?
There's definitely been a few. From the Whitson side, the manager that supported all 10 schools, lasted through, I believe Thanksgiving, and we had to make a position there because expectations weren't being met. We've had the same manager for the entire district in place since then. And certainly building things and learning things as we're going along has been a struggle, but I do feel confident that her leadership is making incremental improvements overall to the program.
Thank you.
Jen?
So I know we don't have back and forth with public comment, but it's relevant to this agenda topic. So can you speak to the public comment specifically about morale and some of the concerns that were raised? Because that's the first time I've heard any kind of negative feedback about this particular services outside of the running out of meals that have been brought up by the students. So I'm just wondering if you can speak to that. You talked about doing surveys. Are those surveys of the people that we have working in our district?
Yes.
And what were the results of those surveys?
Yeah, so we did a employee survey right around the time of the professional development that happened in March. We did receive those results and they were analyzed. There were definitely sentiments along there that the transition has been difficult. And at times, the confusion because of lack of communication on certain items were evident in that, and we've addressed those with Whitsons as they go. Those were the basic overall themes. Not everyone took that survey, which is typical also as well. So, certainly anything that is brought to the principal's attention or my attention, we are addressing as soon as possible.
And as part of that, can we make sure that we get that information from the surveys too when we come to make these decisions about contract? Because that would be useful information.
Yeah, certainly. So in addition to that, we did have a parent survey that closed at the end of April, kind of as we were starting the whole process going into May's recommendation. And we are getting, similar feedback to what I've shared today about things that need to be improved from that survey. And the next phase is to really get in and talk with our students as well, which has certainly come out through this final quarter and going into the final quarter, making sure that Whitsons is doing their part of talking to our kids.
Thank you. John, and then Chris.
Keith, regardless of the percentages, I believe the observation is that the number of meals being sold is down. And do you have an explanation for that?
Can I actually?
You
speak to
can
that?
absolutely speak
So
about that.
we did an analysis, and our numbers are actually very comparable to where they were last year. We do see a reduction in the number of breakfasts that are being served. So for example, at this same time last year for breakfast, we had an average daily participation of 163. This year, we're seeing 153. But for lunch last year, we were seeing average daily participation of 744, and this year we're seeing 766. So I think the lunches are really outweighing the breakfast, the decrease in the breakfast, and we do receive more of a reimbursement from the state on the lunches. So it's not, I would say they're very close to where we were. However, we have had conversations with Whitsons because that was one of our expectations, is that we would see an increase in participation based on their offerings.
760 a day?
Correct.
Yes.
Lunches?
Mhm.
Out of 1,200.
Yep.
Out of
So we're
1,200.
about 67%.
67%.
That seems high.
It is.
Prior to the pandemic and prior to meals being free, the average was around 40% of daily participation.
Sorry, when you say reimbursement, all I keep on hearing is that meals are free, but it doesn't seem like they are free.
They're not free to produce.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But are we not getting enough money back from the state to make them free?
So, I mean, we have not done that analysis. I think that really the biggest difference that we're seeing this year is also the operational costs with the Whitsons contract as well, because we do have additional people who are staffing the program.
Correct.
Where we have that general manager, we have the field service manager, and we have access to the dietitian. So I think that's really gonna be the big difference between that, the equipment, and then also the increase in the salary and wages, which is about a 10% increase. So that's what's really driving this deficit.
John, any follow-ups?
I'll just also comment that when we look at our food cost expense, it was significantly more in terms of what we're buying to prepare and produce the meals. I think that was a conversation that we had.
That's part of the Whitsons, yes,
Right.
expenses.
Okay, Chris and then Matt.
So one of the comments that I think really resonated with me was, that the kids are full and that they feel full afterwards. So I know you talked about surveys of the people who are working inside of food services, but it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of surveying of the kids themselves, the consumers themselves. And I know I've heard this same complaint at home, that there either is not enough food, or maybe the quality is not really where they're looking for. And these aren't very, refined palates either. So I don't think it takes too much to make them happy, but I'm more worried about making them full. So I would hope that that would be, an area that we focus on to make sure that they.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We do
Matt?
have to make sure that we're in compliance
Yeah.
with the USDA
Yeah.
regulations and the serving sizes, so.
Yep.
Matt?
Can you remind me where the budget deficit or the deficit you're talking about, where does it show up in the budget report?
It's not part of the operational budget, so this is, the food service is actually a revolving account. It is set by the Department of Revenue, so it's a separate account where all the salaries are paid and all of the expenses are paid, so it's not gonna show up on that report.
I'm sorry, where is it then? What report is it on?
It's on our balance sheet,
on
there's a
our- yes.
revolving account for
Yes.
cafeteria. So
What happens when an oven breaks? That's probably $50,000.
So there are some
Yeah.
capital expenses that the equipment does sit inside our organization. So when we look at capital expenses such as oven replacements, large-scale freezers and refrigerators, that is a capital plan that Keith has worked on and developed, and needs to be in part of our larger capital plan discussions in the future.
And that's something that I cannot share with the committee on a monthly basis. If that's something that you would like to see, we do have different revolving accounts, like our athletic revolving account. I know you have the monthly general fund report for that, but there are other things that I'd be happy to share with the committee. But it does show up, like Greg says, on our balance sheet, and we do, and I can actually tell you, you know, what the balance is in it right now. We are reconciling that on a monthly basis like we do all of our other accounts. And any expenses, it is supposed to be a self-sustaining account. So the money that is taken in is supposed to support the full operation. So all of the employees' health insurance comes out of that account, their salaries come out of it, and all the operational expenses.
And break fix, yeah.
But not this time, because we're down 60 grand.
We did have a balance at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year, we started with $506,000. So we would be able to.
So what happens if you go, so you can't, so is this allowed because you had $500,000? Or are you prevented from going negative before you would come back
So
to the committee?
if we are in the red, then it will hit the operational budget, the difference.
That makes a lot of sense, because my mother was food service for
Yeah,
45 years, and
Yeah, if we
we never
didn't
lose
have
money,
enough
so
in
it's
this
surprising.
account, it would hit the operation, but because there was enough in the account, we're able to sustain this. But keep in mind also that we do have that guaranteed return from Whitsons.
Do we
Which is gonna be
expect,
my, sorry,
No, go ahead.
what is the actual guaranteed return? So like, are they gonna cover the equipment spend, or is
They
there a
would,
specific
they would make
calculation
sure that we had a profit of the 29,000 that they guaranteed
for the year?
for the year.
Correct,
Mhm.
on an annual basis.
So shouldn't that mean that they have to give us $80,000?
Could, depending on if it.
80 plus the 29 to get us to the
Right.
29,000.
So that's
I'm
where a
saying-
contract like this, the guaranteed return, is protection and motivation for a company to actually produce an operation that is, you know, financially feasible.
Kathleen?
As a follow-up, how responsive has Whitsons been to the survey of dissatisfaction, showing dissatisfaction from our employees? How good a leader are they walking into this space and kind of fixing these problems? I mean, I don't know how much you could say about that, but, you know, I'm really interested. If there's a problem, and we've heard there's a problem, then are they responsive? Is it high touch? Are they looking to really invest themselves deeply in the success of this?
It does feel that way. I would say that as instances have become aware to either the leadership team at Whitsons, they consult us, they consult with human resources, they're talking with principals as well to make sure that issues are being addressed. I think there's, probably as we're in transitioning to year 2, there's going to be a greater opportunity for that connection to be drawn. I think Linda, who is our director now, is still getting her feet wet with our entire organization, our 10 schools, and making sure that she can, obviously take care of the compliance issues and making sure we're doing what we need to do day to day, but also really trying to develop that team that they want to do. And one thing that is unique is that, and was a big change, is we went from a self-operating system to having a food services management company come in.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, they have certain things that they do and certain procedures that were a change for the staff. They were a definite change for the staff. And some of that might have been not as clear as it should have been as we've made that transition. But as those issues have popped up, we've tried hard to respond appropriately.
Are there other schools in our district that are struggling like we heard about at Algonquin?
Mm-hmm. A few, I would say. It is not across the district. There are, each school has maybe a couple of different set of challenges that they're experiencing. Some are similar to what we heard this evening, and like I said, those are being addressed as best they can. I think one thing that I'm feeling from it, especially from our staff that have been with us for a while, is that they're very invested in our kids and our school. And when a change comes in, no matter how small or how great, that's something that it is taking time to work through And that is part of what we're experiencing, district-wide. So I think the better quality conversations we have about, what was and what will be, and making a good plan to do that transition better is only gonna make us stronger. But we have had instances where I've gotten, excellent comments about the Whitsons team from our internal staff and our families and our kids, and, it's definitely, in my opinion, it's been, more positive than negative, but definitely some negative things that have come up.
I just think it takes a tremendous amount of courage for an employee to come to a school committee meeting.
I do as well.
Yeah.
So can I just make a couple comments too? One is that we have not signed a 3-year contract. This is an annual agreement that the school committee has to approve. So we have not entered into a 3-year contract. I just want to make sure that's clear to the committee that, if this is approved, we'll be back here next year to talk about, is this the pathway we want to take? Secondly, the reason why we have retained our employees is for that exact reason, that if, it's not working, that we still retain our employees and we can go in a different direction. That was intentional. Our employees do care about the work they do care about the kids, they have a lot of experience, and that was intentional because this is new. We've not done this before. So feedback from faculty and staff is very important, but I'll also share that it wasn't perfect before. That there were areas for improvement before, and I think it's also, this was an attempt to improve some of the good things that we already did. And from my perspective as a superintendent, having gone through 8 months or 9 months of this change, I truly feel like we need another, contract to really get this right and to see if it is going to work for us. Keith and I talked about, this time next year, in December, bringing back our recommendation. All right, is this working or not? We should know by then for fiscal year 27, 28.
John? And then Denise.
So CPI is going 3.9%, and that expenses are going up. Is our 29,000 going up 3.9% as well? Because it should.
That's a great question, and we will ask that question. That was not, that is not part of the contract the way that it is written.
Well, it's
And
not in
again,
the contract that you
yeah,
presented.
it's a
Right.
DESI contract, so that, that's a great question. And I will take that back to them. And that the CPI is what is outlined in the DESI contract, so we do have to follow that.
I understand.
Denise?
Just a comment, but I think the staff probably is reacting to the fact that kids have come home and said, and I've heard it, I didn't get any lunch today because they were sold out. Some things that are popular are sold out by third lunch. We have to do something to try to change that. I would think that by now they would have sort of figured out who's buying and not, and what they like and what they don't. But I think that's important, because if the kids want to eat, they should be able to.
Agreed.
Well, and I agree with you, Denise, especially when we have so many students involved in after-school activities.
Yes.
So they're not going home at dismissal, they're still staying here. So we want to make sure they're well-fed to perform to their best, and even in the classroom.
The last thing I'll share around our net financial position is that the loss of the sale of the cookie, and this is serious, had a negative impact on our overall budget. So when you look at cookie sales and you take that away, that is a factor in terms of our financial position. The good news is that I think through the good work of some of our food services staff, they brought back a homemade cookie that meets the dietary guidelines. I haven't heard about it yet.
It's not homemade.
It's not homemade.
No, it's a pre-made.
That's what you were talking about. So scrap that.
So can we bring back the cookie, or we're not allowed to?
We've been trying since
I think
September.
we can. I think there's a way.
I agree.
That'd be
There should
exact
be a
same
way.
way.
Yeah.
Historically, it's been the Algonquin cookie.
It has to be worth the calories.
The secret recipe is circulating on social media right now.
It's not secret anymore, we give it away.
And now it's not secret anymore.
We give it to the
It's
seniors as they
circulating.
leave.
Yeah.
I think that even made it on the front page of the Community Advocate with the picture. And they said they did get the recipe, so I was waiting for that. Keith, just as when we do new curriculum initiatives, if it's literacy, if it's math, the end of the year, the teachers get together and say, what worked, what didn't work. We know certain things are not gonna work, and we always have room for improvement. Is there any time at the end of the year to get Whitsons together with our staff and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, how can we make you more content, what can we do? And just to have a.
Oh, that has absolutely been an expectation that I've shared as we've gone into this final quarter, certainly from the professional development day in March, which things were learned there as well about the different, continuity that we're getting across the 10 schools and just people's understanding of that. Yeah, I think more, better, high-quality conversations needs to happen between the Whitsons leadership team and our staff.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so Keith, are you looking for a motion to extend the contract for 1 year? Do you also want to put in the increase that was a 3.9? Or just a simple?
I would say as presented in the packet.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to make such a motion? Okay, I will try to make the motion. I move that the district enters into a second-year contract with Whitson's Culinary Group for the 2026-2027 school year as discussed? As presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denise. Any further discussion on the motion on the table? All those in favor? Okay, we're glad. So we have 3, 4, and how many are against? 3, 4. 4 against, abstaining? 2 abstaining. Okay, so it doesn't pass.
So I think it's also important to note that this is a combined contract with the public schools of Northborough and the public schools of Southborough.
Can I ask what?
Southborough's meeting right now. Southborough's voting on it right now.
Southborough and Northborough approved the contract for 1 more year reluctantly.
Can I ask what happens if it's not approved? Or is there any what happens then? Do we have to go out?
Yeah, I mean, the other piece that I think is important too is that we did have Diane Kofer, who was the manager of the cafeteria, retire at the end of last year. So, that leadership structure and that experience that we had, did retire at the end of last year. In terms of the contract, Becky, I'm not sure what the ramifications are.
We would have to consult with DESE on that, since it is a DESE contract. It would be too late for us to go out to bid for another contract. And so I don't know if this we'd probably have to consult with legal too.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, do you mind if I just
Jen,
follow up?
Jen, then Matt.
So I'm just wondering if there's a way to communicate this. So I might be like a reluctant yes, with the stipulation that they're really given this feedback and struggle to address the concerns that we're hearing now, and then we can, just from my perspective, then at the end for the next year, if those things that we are bringing up are not addressed, that would be a very real possibility, so that the message is sent that these are some of the biggest concerns that need to really be addressed for continued moving forward, I think.
And the idea of bringing this back in December, so we have enough time as a district to take a different course, whatever that course might be.
Matt?
I will admit, I was maybe hoping some of my other committee members would have approved it, so I didn't have to. I can also find my way to a reluctant yes, knowing that this is a 1-year contract. On the DESE point, when you say it's a DESE contract, is that because they've gone out and they've, with Whitsons, and got the contract structure approved? Like, what's the significance of DESE?
Well, DESE is the oversight for the food service program, so they administer the USDA funding and all of the reimbursements. And what they did to make it simpler for districts is they put together a comprehensive procurement package and also a contract knowing that districts are going out, and so to have it already vetted through the state, and it's a vehicle that we can use, you know, it's kind of a plug and play, where
Mhm.
you're entering in your own information, and it's compliant with 30B and all of those regulations. And they also had put together a contract that you have to use, with some modifications, but for the most part, it's a very
Standardized.
standard contract.
So
And
it's
so
saying
they
that-
oversee, like, you have to let them know that you're going out
correct.
for this procurement, and you have to really kind of walk with them through every step.
Said differently, is that what also positions us to get the state funding? Because it's in that?
No.
No, that has not, the state funding is,
Not contingent, but we have to have, in order to get it, we have to have a contract that complies?
well,
Not necessarily.
we just have to run a food service program.
Okay.
So we have to comply with the National School Lunch Program, and that's what basically DESE has, with this template and the standardization, has ensured that districts are doing in order to engage in this type of contract. So they've taken that leadership role to make sure that we do have compliance, so that whatever we do and add locally sourced, the food components, all those
Yeah,
compliance
so if we
issues.
didn't use a DESE contract, we'd have to have another means
So
of demonstrating.
We
So
wouldn't
last
be able
year-
to participate in the new school lunch
So
program.
last year, or many years, we operated our own food services department, managed
Right.
by us as a district. It would be similar to, like, right now, we contract out for transportation. It would be as if we brought transportation in-house and managed our own transportation department. It's really no different. What's different is we've contracted out, and we would need more time to shift direction if we decided we wanted to bring it back in-house.
And I think, like Greg had mentioned, the reason why we looked at it this last year was we had Diane Kofer retiring, and then we also had our K-8 manager leave the district as well. And so it's, at that point in time, it seemed like one avenue for us to pursue in terms of managing the food service program.
And feedback that what we were doing was not that great. That we were trying to improve the quality of the food to our students.
Keith, could we revote when do you have to have the vote for this contract? Even though Northborough and Southborough K-8 have voted it, could we revote this in June, where we would allow more time? Because I had written down here agenda items for next month, because Matt had questions, John had questions on the financial. Becky, you responded and said you could get them those numbers, and along with the other issues that come up. So could we vote for that in June, and you could come back to us with the financial and the other concerns that you're hearing? Not enough food for the kids, how is that gonna be solved?
The way I understand it, and I'm gonna have to double check that, is DESE has a deadline for these renewals, and it's typically the beginning of June, but we could request, and I would have to gather more information, to whether or not we could ask for an extension. But I'm pretty confident that the first week of June is the deadline for these, for the contract renewal.
Kathleen?
I think, you know, for those of us that were reluctant in voting, just knowing that December would have been the time to go out for another contractor, and that this really leaves it all in a lurch, would have changed my vote, and that came after the fact. So, you know, how do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think someone,
Move for reconsideration.
yeah.
It'd have to be somebody who voted
But
in the for.
I think it's important for this committee to know that the Northborough and Southborough committee echoed all the same concerns.
Okay.
There was a reluctant approval with the idea of, we did this for 8 months. We need to see if we can make quick improvement as we launch the school year, and if not, we need to head in a different direction.
Can we also, when we think about this for the if we vote it in favor, right? So can we know, say, like in December, have a meeting to review like what
Yes.
progress, so that we don't have
And
end up
probably
in this
sooner,
situation?
probably October, end of October, November.
Correct.
And that way we can go out for a bid if we change.
So did I miss the portion where, because when we got the materials in advance, I did remember asking myself, geez, why is this being presented at this meeting? when this is really, I recollected it being a combined topic. So is it being presented in this meeting because we have to meet a June deadline? So,
The reason why it's being done at each committee is each committee has to vote to renew.
yeah, because we can't wait till the combined meeting that we have in June.
Correct, that's also a factor, right.
Well, and each contract is with each individual.
Each individual
No,
committee.
I get that, but we could have done it at an earlier combined meeting. But now the reason why it's being presented in each of the individual committees is because each committee has to vote for it, and usually we discuss these things all together. So now we're discussing them separately. We're being faced as a committee, the third one being presented, and yes, the other two reluctantly voted for it, so now the decision in a way is being made for us. So I'm happy to open up the vote again. I will provide a yes because we're stuck here in this situation. But one of the things that I was hoping to ask you for is, there's all this discussion around financial information, and none of it is actually available in the financials that we get. I get the fact that it's on the balance sheet and we have a fund, so maybe then I'd ask you for like a roll forward of that fund account, show us all the revenues that we received, all the expenses that came into the $60,000 deficit. What is the computation of how we get to them refunding us up to a $29,000 return, which feels to me, if we're 60,000 deficit, presently we should be getting 80,000 of cash, but they also get fees. Are those included in the return or not? The 3.9% increase that John asked about, is that part of, they get that separately and there's a separate computation? So I think we just need some more visibility to something that's not present. I feel like this is being stuck on us in a way, just my opinion.
Okay, any
So
other?
can I just make a comment to that? I appreciate that, that we would not have been ready. We wouldn't have enough financial data and information to present in April or sooner. Part of the challenge that we're facing is all the work collecting this information, presenting it back to the committee, is that this is our first year doing this. And we need as many months as we could to present good data to you. I know Sunny and Becky and Keith have been organizing the financials and information. We would not have been ready at the combined meeting in April. It would have been too soon. But I hear your concern, and in the future when we talk about this, if this is a conversation, we can have a combined meeting, because we will have a full year of experience to bring to the table in financials.
And Matt, to your point, maybe we could look at doing a combined meeting doing the presentation in October, November, before we take that December vote, is to have a combined meeting before that of all the three committees. You know what I mean? So we can hear each of the committee's concerns. Okay, any other comments? Okay, so to do a vote for reconsideration, it has to be somebody who has voted in the affirmative. And so I voted for it. So I'm going to, it'll be a two-step process. We have to vote to reconsider it. It would have to pass an approval to reconsider the vote versus what we do in town meeting, to lock in a vote, you vote against it. And then we will take another motion to approve the contract of Whitsons for the next school year. Okay, all set? Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to put a motion for reconsideration of the vote that we took to, for the second year contract for Whitson's Culinary Group for the 26-2027 school year. The vote was 3-4, 4 against, and 2 abstaining. So this is a vote to reconsider the vote. All those in favor? No? Abstaining?
Has to be unanimous?
No. But we are unanimous. No. Okay, so we had 8 for the reconsideration, 1 against, which means we go now for a vote for a reconsideration. Would someone like to make a motion? Denise? And that is that the district recommends entering into a second-year contract with the Whitsons Culinary Group for the 26-27 school year.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor? 8 for against, 1 against. Okay, so it passes in the majority 8-1. you. The next item on our agenda is, this is gonna be, oh, Kathleen, I'm sorry.
Are we circling back in June on this? To have them come to, Whitsons to come? Is that, we talked about that briefly?
I'm gonna put in, my suggestion is an agenda item, it'll be up to the administration,
See,
is to find more answers to the questions that John and Matt had about the financials, and to ask Becky to lead us through those financials that she said she would be able to do. And to, maybe it would be up to the administration and Keith to see if there has been a better form of communication between Whitsons and our staff.
Can we also ask that they survey the kids before the end of the year, so that we can use that information over the summer and preparing for fall?
That is the intention, yes.
I thought they have, so.
No, they're in the process of doing that. They've done
Madison's come to us and they've done surveys and stuff. Haven't they already done?
They did not do a formal survey with the students. They surveyed the staff, they surveyed parents.
But we've also done our own surveys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of that has been shared with the Whitsons team.
Right, and you've commented and you've responded, so, yeah, I understand that. There's not a lot of time to get a survey out.
No, it might not be a survey, it might be other methods of.
Ask for a survey.
Right, but it could be a survey. I think they have been instructed to deliver one during the final quarter to the students, but we haven't received results on that, and I don't know how far along they are in
So
that process.
I'll just comment, we don't need to wait for Whitsons to do a
Correct.
survey around the
That's the
field.
other
That's
point.
something we could take on. So if Whitsons isn't responsive to our need for data from our students, we can create a survey pretty easily and get feedback from the students and give it the data to Whitsons.
Okay.
Okay, so Erin, thank you for that, and we'll try to incorporate that, okay? All right, thank you. The next item that we have is the subcommittee and liaison assignments. You have a colored copy in front of you. I asked Cheryl to put in yellow where the vacancies are. So to make it easy for you, you can see where we have some vacancies, and you could either do two ways. By the end of the meeting, if you see that you want to serve on one of these committees, just put your name next to it and then just give me the paper, or you can send an email to me. There are some of these subcommittees that we have to have in place by the end of, at our June meeting, because we have to have them, such as the warrant articles.
Yeah, tonight.
Tonight? You
Payroll
want
and warrants.
Oh, they want it tonight, okay.
Just payroll.
Payroll? Okay, so for payroll and warrants, and Becky, can you just give what the commitment to that is, because we have new members?
Sure. On a bi-weekly basis, that person is, or people, I should say, will receive a DocuSign. It will include all of the payroll and the warrant information, and you'll be signing off on each of the warrants and the payrolls that are included in that packet.
And you,
It's every other week. It coincides with our payroll period.
Typically, it's been the chair.
And, yes,
it's been the chair?
chair and a second person.
I did do
Jen.
it.
I'm already on here.
So
I get
good
the
at it.
reminders, please sign.
All right. I will do it because I had to step in for Paul Desmond yesterday, and I asked two people, did you get them? Did they come through?
Came through perfect.
So, okay,
It's
so,
very easy and not time consuming at all.
no, I just made sure I did that.
And there's a great, DocuSign has a great app too, so
Yeah.
if you download that, it pops right up.
Okay, so I'll put myself down for payroll warrants. Jen, do you want to stay on, or would somebody
I'll
just
stay.
stay? You only need two of us? Okay, and the other one is,
I think that was it.
is that it?
Others,
The only other one is the collective bargaining subcommittee, so there are 2 open vacancies. Although we have settled with our Unit A association, we are in collective bargaining with Unit C. So my recommendation is we fill those 2 seats because we are in negotiations with Unit C at this point in time.
Okay, so we have Matt's on it and John, so we need 2 more positions. And it doesn't have to be just, we don't have, yeah, it could be 2 from Northborough, 2 from Southborough, or whatever, or 1 and 1. So is there any interest of anyone here tonight for collective bargaining? Denise?
Sure.
Thank you. One more?
I can help collective bargaining.
Great, thank you, Megan.
It's the best committee, best subcommittee.
See, the new members are like excited, they want to go on. Thank you, thank you. Any others?
I'll join boosters.
Boosters? Perfect, thank you, John. Thank you. And then I had this one delineated a little bit better. The liaison to the South Board, Select Board, and also Northborough, there used to be one, and I figured it would be best to have one for Northborough and one for Southborough to go to the Select Board meetings if possible, so I will take that vacancy on that, because I think it's usually the chair that does that. Okay, so I'll take that one. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but if you see anything that you want to do, check off your name, give it to me at the end, or, because we have executive session after. Is that okay? Do we get
And
everything
you
we
can
need?
also, if there is a standing committee, you can also email Cheryl Lepre, and she'll help collect the information and give it to Joe.
Do we still have a start time working group?
We do not.
Okay, because that's listed as having a vacancy. Kathleen on it.
I don't plan to start that up again.
Okay, so we can take that to like an inactive group or something? Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Anything else? All right, you have an interest, just let me know through an email, or as Greg said, Cheryl Lepre will give you a great description of what is needed. Okay, the next item that any other questions on the subcommittees? Oh, and some of the meetings are remote. And you know, you can do, not remote, yeah, remote. Okay, next we have approval of grants and donations. Can we lump those all together, or, I'm sorry, Mr. Bevan, do you want to discuss about them?
Sure, I can do that quickly. We have a letter in your packet asking to accept a $200 donation from one of our parents, April Cimarelli. That was done through her employer, Mass Mutual, which we would be happy to accept. There's also a recommendation to accept, or a request to accept $200 also from Wegmans and products from Fatouche Grill and Bakery, and that was to support a really wonderful event, the Culture Festival we have here. And then as well, I'm asking to accept funds from Gamache Construction, donated labor and materials in the amount of $9,000 to repair and restore the scoreboards for both the varsity baseball and softball fields.
Do you think, John?
Sorry. Very generous of Gamache. They've always been very generous with baseball. But we talk about how we're going to put advertisement, and we talk about we're going to have a whole plan for how we're going to make money off of the stadium. It's right there. Like, I guess, are we piecemealing this, or should this be combined? And I appreciate the fact that they want to they want to fix the scoreboards, but we're talking about advertising. This is a significant amount of money. And I mean, I missed the meeting, but I read the notes as it relates when, you know, they came and discussed the whole plan for what you're going to do with the Gong Stadium. So I guess I'll approve this and we can vote on it, but we should really be thoughtful on how we're taking $9,000 from private party.
Sure.
To fix the sports facilities, because that's ultimately what it is. We should be paying for that. Then they should not be getting that, then such disrepair in the first place.
I agree. Yep.
Sorry.
No, I agree. We do have a plan that is forthcoming to do a sponsorship program. It just has not come together in a way that would answer the questions and meet the needs you talked about. But I do agree. I think it's we can monetize the facility through rentals and sponsorships, and there's a plan coming together for that, and I'd be happy to report on that soon.
Thanks.
Quick question.
Matt?
Was this work already done on the scoreboards, or is this work that's to be done?
That is work that is complete, yes.
So one thing.
All these have already been completed.
I know.
You've already cashed the checks.
I know, it always gets me that we approve this stuff when we've actually already taken it. But I guess it's an acknowledgement that we're supportive of it and appreciative.
Yeah.
And it's one thing for when Wegmans gives us $200 and we're approving it, but like a $9,000, and very appreciative of Gamache, but to John's point, when we're accepting a donation of that size, maybe and this planning around the work to be done, maybe that could have come to the committee in advance, that we don't know the amount, but we know it's significant, they're donating something, and we'll come back with the actual amount when they're done. Just, I don't know,
So
like how we determine when we should be pre-approving.
So there's a sponsorship and donations policy that outlines the process for which donations are accepted and approved. And it's before we receive the donation and whatever in-kind work that's done. So, this donation has not followed the policy process, but that does not mean we're not, again, thankful and grateful for the donation.
Yeah.
That is something that we're working on in terms of internal processes and protocols around if someone wants to donate, then that goes through a process, then gets approved by the school committee. Once it's accepted, then the work can be done.
Okay, and any other questions, comments? Is there a motion?
So
Motion
moved.
to accept the three grants that were highlighted by Mr. Bevan that are coming to the high school.
So moved.
So moved by John,
Second.
second by, her name, Megan, was it you?
That was me.
Oh, Aaron. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? And it passes unanimous. Thank you. Next, on to Superintendent's report to the committee. Mr. Martineau?
Sure, so I'll turn it over to Madison.
So good evening. It's my last report. It'll be brief. So there's very few student advisory committee updates since it's the end of the year. We are starting to think about elections for members for next year. But I know that I'm leaving it in good hands, so I'm very excited for everyone who will be taking up that role. And I did just want to celebrate, we have 2 seniors on the Student Advisory Committee, so we have me and then Madison Nakosha, who's the alternate chair. And so she's going to Penn State University, and she is studying communication sciences and disorders, and she wants to go into speech pathology. And then I already made my whole spiel, but I just thought it would be nice to celebrate our seniors. Sort of on that note, for things that are happening around Algonquin, it is very senior heavy, but there were a lot of great things happening. So in the top left corner, May 1st is decision day, so seniors have to put in their deposit if they're going to a college to secure their spot. But this photo I thought was really nice because this is actually all of the seniors on the music trip to Philadelphia. We took this photo with all of our commitment shirts and gear in front of Independence Hall, and so I think it shows just like how that spirit is still alive, even though we're maybe not necessarily within the walls of Algonquin and we're out and about. Carnival, you heard, is this Friday, super exciting. That's also the last day for seniors. And then the Triumph Coffee House was last night, so student performers get to go and perform and have a really fun night with food and drinks. And then the Gonk Stage Needs Improvement Show was earlier this month. The seniors get a Red Sox night as well as a Six Flags trip, which will be after their last day, so next week, which is very exciting. And then classes are holding elections for new officer positions next week, I believe. And then Pops Night, this is a poster from last year, so if you would like to go, it's June 3rd. But this is a super fun night where the music is all Pops music. So instead of all like the classical, more advanced repertoire, it's sort of a fun night where everyone can showcase songs that everyone might know. And then the art show reception was actually tonight. A lot of students showcase their art and they put a lot of hard work into it, so it's great to see them get to showcase that. The Algonquin Writing Center is doing a college essay brainstorming workshop for our rising seniors who are just starting their process. And then I thought, as a good end-of-year club spotlight, to highlight the yearbook club. I think the end of the year is a time where a lot of people look at the yearbook and they think, wow, this is a lot of hard work, but This team and this group of people really work throughout the entire year in order to make the yearbook possible, in order to make sure everyone can have their photos and memories placed into one book. And I know, speaking from experience, since we had the ice cream social today with the yearbook, it was really fun to go through and see all those lasting memories. I think especially for the seniors to have that all in one bundled up book. So Yearbook Club is a group of hardworking graphic designers and creative thinkers, and they showcase page layouts and themes. And one of their main goals is to stay as organized as possible so that they can get those yearbooks in timely for the end of the year. And then that is all, if anyone has any questions.
Madison, I'd just like to thank you for a great year. You've been a great representative. I think you've come to every school committee meeting, and your presentations are unbelievable. And just take our gratitude and thanks for everything that you've done, and that all the seniors, please tell them they're going to go out and be great representatives coming from Algonquin. So we thank you.
Thank you, I will.
Well done, Madison. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is principal's report.
Sure. So thank you, everyone. I just have a few quick things to share out on, including, I'm a little stalled out here, it appears. Technology is not my friend today. Here we go. Okay. As you're probably aware, there's cell phone legislation that was in the news. To my understanding, the cell phone legislation passed in the House and in the Senate, but there were two subtly different bills. They need to be unified into one for application in the schools. But it is the expectation that we will be governing cell phones with a little bit greater forcefulness in all Massachusetts public schools, high schools. And we're preparing to do that. I don't have real particulars on exactly what that looks like. This year we were doing a form of governing cell phones that is a little bit hard to sustain over time, and probably would not comply with the law. So we are examining what that will look like, so that we have a plan before the close of the year so that we can reopen school with a plan in place that complies with the law and also with our culture, and also does the right thing by students who are really struggling, I think, to manage the distraction cell phones represent and the attention they need to pay during school. So it is a challenge here at the high school. It's a challenge in every American public school and probably in every school in the globe. So that's something we are tackling with haste, but trying to do with a level of strategy that makes it sustainable. So I will try to report back when we have a little bit more to report. Yeah, John.
Sean, on that point, are you going to force people to use Chromebooks and not their personal devices next year?
It appears that that's probably going to be one of the things we're going to have to address, and that is something we're considering. Yes.
Okay.
Because for obvious reasons, the personal computing devices end up creating. I'm sorry.
This will be communicated to parents.
I will. Yeah. I mean, these are not decisions I've finalized or we finalized as a school.
You only have a few more weeks.
I'm sorry.
At the end of the year, there's not a lot of time left.
Yeah, we don't have the final plan together yet, but we will be fully Chromebook. Chromebooks will be available for all students in all 4 grades for the first time next year. It does give us that as an opportunity. Students who bring in their own personal devices as almost become a de facto cell phone equivalent with them, and that ends up creating a real challenge to the management of those devices in buildings. And that's something we haven't examined closely enough to make a decision about, but I suspect that's probably where will happen.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then additionally, I just wanted to share out that we are launching next year a class called Math Lab. It's a class that meets in a very different way than anyone we've offered before. It's really designed for freshmen who arrive to us who are not at grade level, leaving 8th grade into 9th grade, and we are looking to supplement their math instruction in what is typically Algebra 1 for the students who fit this profile. And we're providing for them an every other day first semester support to identify in a very small learning environment the kind of skills that they are deficient in, so that we can get them to kind of accelerate their growth so that they can catch up to their peers. We've never done this before, but we are going to be approaching families. We're going to have roughly 30 to 35 students who are going to take this class that will supplement their other instruction. And yes.
What was the problem that this is the solution for?
So we have a sizable number of students who are behind grade level on math, who are arriving to us not achieving proficiency in MCAS, and are having a hard time maintaining, arriving and finding success in high level high school mathematics.
Can I add to that?
When the math and science departments come, I'm always interested, like we always get that top 5% that glow, you know, the APs and things. But this is really what matters to me, is that everybody is moving along, and I love that this math lab, but in previous discussions, this number of kids lagging behind hasn't come up, and I think it's important for us to have, you know, the comprehensive look at student profiles, and I find that, you know, that glossy top 15% just doesn't inform us fully. And I think that's important in the department presentations, is just to help us understand where we need to be helpful, like math lab, yeah, all for it.
So I was just gonna add that in the past, approximately the same number of students were in Algebra 1 fundamentals. There's Algebra 1 CP, which is college prep, and Algebra 1 honors. Approximately the same number have been in Algebra 1 fundamentals, which has been a smaller group doing Algebra 1 with the same number of math sessions as an Algebra 1 CP course. So meeting every day of the week. We have not seen that model has helped those students to close the gap and accelerate their learning. The theory was, we have a smaller group, and we're going to try to accelerate the learning of the fundamentals group to get them to grade level. And we have not seen that actually closing the gap. So this is an alternative where we are saying we are going to have our students in a college prep Algebra 1 class and have that 5 days a week, and then give them additional support to try to accelerate their learning. And this has all been planned in collaboration with our Student Support Services Department to make sure that how this fits together with students who will get additional support beyond this. So it's a different strategy for this. It's not a new group of students, but it is a group of students, as you said, that we want to accelerate their learning, and it's a different strategy for doing that.
So when they meet 2 days a week in addition, they presumably are having to give up other options, other electives, and
They presumably do, but we also know that there's a lot of room in students' schedules for electives, and I know the high school has actually been working on making sure that students are not overscheduling, which is something that we often see, is that students' schedules are so jammed-packed that there's no space for them to breathe. So unlike in a middle school setting where kids really, often when we are trying to provide support in a middle school setting, kids really feel what they're missing. When we looked at this as an option, they will still have room to take electives. So it won't be like, oh, the person next to me gets to do this and I don't. They still have access to all of our electives. They will have, you know, an incremental less time for that access, but our hope is that is, you know, the benefits outweigh the trade-off there.
And I would just add, roughly half of the students we have identified to receive this support will have our students on ed plans or on 504s, and they will be using that time in their LC, their learning center, those times will be used to meet in this class on every other day, and in the alternating days be in their learning center. So that will not be an additional block in their schedule that then prevents them from taking a class like that, maybe all their friends are taking. So, and then one other thing, as we've talked over and over again at this committee, in taking out digital literacy as a graduation requirement, it's given a great deal of breathing room in freshmen schedules, so they have a space that didn't previously exist in their predecessor students who were freshmen as recently as this year. This model would have been very hard and would have been a little bit burdensome for students who do not have learning center or what we call a focus study. So time is right for it. For students who are not meeting expectations on MCAS, we anticipate this will, or our theory is that this will accelerate their learning and get them caught up in a way that our current model, which has been the model for some time now, is just not doing.
Can we get an update with our math department? Sure. And maybe is December too early to take a look at that? I'd love to see what you're getting with it.
I think there'll be something to take a look at.
Okay.
I think that with any type of trying to close gaps, takes time.
I know, that's why I thought
so
December was a little quick, but at least.
We can talk about when, so I think if you're okay with it, maybe we can talk with the math department head and get some input on when might be a reasonable time and what data might be helpful. They are very conscious of looking at the data and looking across levels and across sections, and we're doing a lot of sort of data analysis, so I think he'll have some ideas about what we could look at and when might be a good time to look at trends.
Yeah, and the students we've chosen for this have been chosen by using a great deal of data coming out of the middle school, going back to their 6th grade MCAS scores, teacher recommendations, and looking at data that predicts students who are going to struggle the most to identify which of the 30 students of the 300 incoming freshmen could most benefit from this, and then offer it to them and see who will take us up on it, and then go to a second list of students until we fill these courses, which we think will fill right away. Moving on. Now, Maddie has already covered most of these, but I just wanted to highlight how much the next couple of weeks for our seniors, how it will unfold, and there's a lot of celebratory events for them. First, the PTO, the APTO has organized several things, as they always do all across the year, but they really come through for our seniors, and here are some of the things. That top bullet, senior spirit tables, they, and Denise was certainly influential in designing this. They, for 4 weeks, every Tuesday morning came in at 7 a.m., set up a really exciting thematic, a different theme each week, way to celebrate seniors in this march toward graduation. So that was really wonderful. A lot of handouts, food, which students loved, which was very popular. Today there was a yearbook distribution event with an ice cream social to kind of punctuate that event, which was as popular as you might imagine. And then on June 5th, they are sponsoring a barbecue that will be the culmination of their day after seniors have gone through what we call the senior stroll, which I'll talk about in a moment. These events from the APTO also run concurrent with or around the same time as all these other events that are happening, and Maddie had covered a few of them. We just had the Senior Scholastic Awards night last week. The carnival is on the 22nd, that's this Friday, but that really, as much as anything, is also seniors' last day when we do this kind of ceremonial dismissal and the countdown to the last bell. There's a Red Sox game, Six Flags trip. We have a student faculty softball game, and that will mark the awarding of the Titan Cup, which is a trophy awarded to the students or the teachers who win the most games when they compete against each other across the year. Pops concert. On the 4th of June, we are doing an event organized by Encompass. You might recall I've developed a real partnership with Encompass over the course of this year, in part because we retired the post-prom party, and they swept in to just create more grade-by-grade programming. And what they will be doing is a tabling event where they'll have lots of different tables on different themes related to topics around student health and wellness that they need to be thinking about and knowing before they leave our school. We do a graduation rehearsal that's not listed here, and then the senior stroll, which you see photographs here, is when our students wear their caps and gowns and go visit their elementary schools and their middle schools and see their teachers. It's maybe the best event of the whole year, honestly. It's really wonderful. And then they'll come back from there to go to the barbecue, and then, of course, graduation, which is the default plan for that is that it's on the football field under sunny skies on the morning of Saturday the 6th. If it rains, we get moved inside.
Fingers crossed.
I'm sorry?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yes. Yes.
Mr. Bevan, thank you very much. I think most of the all the school committee members have received an invitation, but I would just like to reach out and can you make sure that Aaron, Megan, and Denise gets gets an invitation? I'm not sure if they were sent out before the election.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Cheryl will send a calendar invite, so if you plan on attending, if you can accept it, that'd be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you for that reminder. I appreciate
Denise?
it.
Can I just follow up with Sean said? I'd like to compliment the senior parents because all of these activities that we had week after week on Tuesday morning never would have happened. I mean, we gave the kids braided bookmarks in the Algonquin colors. It took 30 minutes to make every one of those, and we made one for every senior. Gave them gift bags. This past week was Throwback Tuesday. Happened on Monday because we heard about no senior skip day. But in that bag, there were snacks that they had when they were kids. We gave them rubber duckies, and they also, the parents put together their baby pictures with a graduation cap on a popsicle stick. And they worked very hard. Without the parents, this never would have happened.
Wow.
And it was amazing to pull off, and they did a great job. And I want to compliment them.
Thank you. Were you chairperson of the?
As the treasurer.
You were
of
the treasurer.
APTO.
Please take our thanks back to the APTO for all that, to make it such a memorial last week's here at Algonquin. Thank you. Thank you to the APTO and the parents that helped. That's very, very wonderful.
We tried. And the
I think
garden
you achieved and exceeded. You did a good job.
Thank you.
I would just end on saying we've built this collection of days and events over time over the last several years, and I think we're about where we need to be as a community. I don't know that there's even room to add more. Our kids have a really great experience, and it's well supported by our community and our parents, and the kids enjoy it. So, and then finally, in other news, we have Katie Campbell, who's here tonight, happens to be here tonight. She is a student in our CAP program, and Katie will represent the Special Olympics Team Massachusetts at the USA Games, which is in Minnesota in June. She's one of our unified athletes in basketball and track and a member of the Special Olympics Massachusetts Youth Activation Council. At this Minnesota conference, she'll be learning leadership skills that she plans to bring back to our school, and we're very proud of Katie for her leadership in our school and the skills she's going to learn about and bring back to our school to share with her peers. And that is my report for the night.
All right, so next for the superintendent's report is the enrollment report as of 4/5/15, so no significant changes. Also in your packet are the financial memos and reports that I will turn over to Becky to provide.
So first I will start with the budget line item transfers, and I'm happy to report that there are no new overexpended function codes for the school committee to approve, so we can skip over that item.
You still need a vote, though. Do you need a vote on that?
No,
Okay.
no. So the next piece would be the monthly general fund report, and the report that's in your packet is as of April 30th, 2026. We have 2 months, well, at this point, not even 2 months remaining in the fiscal year. The budget balance is $484,507, which is 1.63% of the operational budget. That is an increase from last month's meeting, and I just wanted to point out, and this is actually another agenda item, is that one of the reasons that that budget increased is because we did receive additional circuit breaker relief from the state. For those of you who are not familiar, and Megan, you probably are very familiar, we received extraordinary relief, and that is due to the fact that our special education costs that are eligible under the circuit breaker program exceeded our cost from FY25 by 25%. And so we have already received the $394,642. However, this morning we received another email from DESE, and they were reviewing our claim again and realized that they had made an error, and luckily it was in our favor. And so we are actually going to be receiving an additional $17,027, bringing the total reimbursement up to $411,669. So we were very pleased to receive those funds for FY27, 26, what year are we in? So at this point, I do not have any concerns with the operational budget, and so I would ask the committee to approve the monthly general fund report as presented until audited.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Kathleen, second.
Second.
Second by Aaron. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? And it passes unanimous.
And then the last report would be the revenue report, and again, that is also as of April 30th. So the funds, you can see that those circuit breaker extra relief funds are down at the bottom, probably the second from the bottom under the general fund receipts, and there's the $394,000. The other thing that I just wanted to point out is that we are winding down our athletic season, so we are very close to receiving 100% of those receipts. The fees that we received in April are related to the spring sports season. And then finally, the other area that we did receive reimbursement was in our regular circuit breaker and also the circuit breaker transportation. We received those funds in April. So we are very close to, we're at 76% with 2 months remaining. June 1st will be our last assessment payment by both communities, and that's when you'll really see that number come closer to the 100%.
Okay, you need a vote?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to accept the FY26 statement of revenue as presented until audited.
So moved.
So moved by Chris, seconded by Matt. Any questions? All those in favor? And it passes unanimous. And then there is a circuit breaker relief letter.
So that is the official letter from DESE, communicating that we did receive extraordinary relief.
And do we vote to accept this letter?
No, I think it's
Okay,
just more information.
Okay. Any questions on the DESE letter? Okay. Going on to the next agenda item, old business, none at this time. Policy development and distribution, none at this time. Public comment. Anyone in the audience would like to make a comment at this time? And at this time, do any school committee members have any reports or anything they would like to present? I just have 3 real quick, I promise. Tomorrow, the NSPAC is going to have the Go the Distance Awards. It will be in the auditorium here at 6 p.m. I also attended, there was a youth volunteer fair on Tuesday, May the 12th, that was here at Algonquin, and it was for 2 hours, and it was a great presentation. I mean, they had UMass was here, the Rotary Club was there, even the Ecotarium from Worcester, and they were looking for volunteers from the class for Mud Day on 6/26, Insect Day, Rocket Day, and Feather Fest. There was just so many volunteer opportunities for the kids to do, and as you know, going into colleges or anything else, they always have to see if they're involved in their community. So there was a lot of excitement at that time for this. And I think it was put on, I think it started with the Southborough, I had it here, It was conjunction with the Southborough Youth and Family Services, and they combined with the Northborough Youth and Family Services. So it was the combination of the two doing that. And then the other thing is that happened to attend, it was back on May the 1st here at Algonquin in the Black Box Theater. It was a cultural fest, and Greg and I both were there, and it was wonderful. It was just showcasing, Catherine, you would love it, it was showcasing all the dances and music and everything from all these cultures. It was amazing, all these different dances from countries and the music, it was fantastic.
Sorry, I was away.
Yeah. So, put that on your camera. Jen?
I had just have a quick thing too. If people can fill out their evaluations, they're due this Friday. Let's get regional to be the best. Because as of the reminder that was sent out, we had one. So if people can complete that this week, it would be great.
We'll do it. Yeah.
That's a great reminder.
I just got a reminder yesterday.
I sent mine in already.
What's that?
Already done. Sent mine in.
Yes.
I just want to note that the Southborough and Northborough school committees are finished, but
Maybe that's why I got mine done.
I don't know. if
No
that's
pressure.
right.
That is definitely not true.
Yeah, and that is very important, because that's one of the things that were left after the Ed Reform Act of 1993 was the evaluation of the superintendent along with budget. It took a lot of many other details away from us, but those two they gave. And it's always, I give credit to the chairpersons that have to do it. It's really wonderful. And to keep asking, and Cheryl Lepre did a great job on doing the format, what makes it so easy to, and it just tabulates everything for us, and there's goals, the goals from the state and the goals that Greg comes up with. Okay, the next one is personnel, distribution of personal report that's in our packets. J is communications. Nothing right now. Approval of bills and payrolls. Jen, that'll be you and I, okay? Agenda items for next month. If possible, I wrote down about maybe getting a follow-up to Whitsons, and Becky, through Greg, if it's possible to give an update onto it, that would be great.
International travel, the questions will follow up next meeting.
Okay. And then I put something for long-term, and answer the questions that Matt and John have on the Whitsons.
Yeah, so if it makes sense, I would imagine that for what I asked for, it might be more appropriate for the fall, because I would imagine the measurement's gonna take place after the fiscal year ends in June. So I'm fine waiting until the fall if that.
Yeah, I mean, we can also provide an update as to where we stand at this point in time in the year. We have the data, so.
I think qualitative information too, I appreciate the data, but just really how is the relationship in the ecosystem flourishing?
And then I think, John, also, if possible, a survey. I know we said there's just a few weeks left. We could get a survey from the students on Whitsons. Long-term, I put in for the December regional meeting is like a math presentation, a small one, maybe on the math lab. There was a question about that. And then also, at a combined meeting in October or November, whenever we plan it, is to do the Whitsons contract and get some more information before we make the contract decision in December. Okay? We'll see how we can put that in. Any other agenda items? John?
We're not making a decision in December. We're just, are we making a decision in December?
Yeah, our intention is to be in a place where we can make a recommendation.
Fine. Because you're gonna have to do a lot of homework if you recommend switching.
Yes, we're gonna need that lead time to be able to.
Because we're gonna have all the way till June 1st, or first week of June, for DESI and the signing of the year 3
And
potentially.
if we go back to a self-operated organization, then
Well, and then Becky's gonna have to be thoughtful on how we're gonna affect the budget on that, because that'll be adding staff. Replacing people that have not been there for several years then. Okay?
Any other agenda items for June? Okay. So we need to go into executive session. The reason for executive session is exemption 3 to the open meeting law, chapter 30A, section 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with Algonquin Regional Teachers Association Unit C, educational support professionals and Algonquin Regional High School custodians, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and not to reconvene in open session. Is there a second? Second by Chris. This is a roll call vote going into executive session. Matt?
Yes.
Erin?
Yes?
Megan? Denise?
Aye.
Kathleen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So we're adjourned at 9:30.